the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326. I don't know how much taller Sakaki is than you. Last night, after Zyuksha comforted Yuanzi, she mysteriously told Eminem that she had something to do at noon today, so there was no need to wait for her to come with her, and Yuanzi was ready to have a good rest today because of yesterday's fright point. Therefore, Eminem planned to have lunch by himself and then find a place to rest until the afternoon game started point. But just when Eminem left the competition venue, he suddenly felt that he was being targeted by someone. After becoming the Harvest Priest, Eminem's perception in all aspects has become much stronger. At first, Eminem thought he was from Team Flare, but if you think about it carefully, if it was Jin, it shouldn't be discovered so easily. So Eminem just pretended not to care, walked around, and then walked into a dead end. The other party should also have understood that Eminem discovered him. I saw a scar-faced man wearing sunglasses following Eminem into the alley, and then he was blocked by Eminem. Seeing this man's honor, Eminem was even more certain that he was not from the Flame team, at least not from the black organization. Otherwise, it would be too easy to expose, and it would be more conspicuous than vodka, and it would just have "I'm a bad person" written on your face. It is inconsistent with the purpose of the black organization. Seeing Eminem waiting for him in the alley, the scarred man was surprised at first, but immediately stopped and said, "Are you Eminem? Our boss wants to see you." "Your boss?" Amu didn't recognize the other party's identity. "Ah, you still going to pretend to be stupid? Don't forget what you did," the scarred man said confidently. "Well, I have offended a lot of people recently. Why don't you remind me more?" Eminem was also helpless. Scar man, think carefully. "What did you do in Cerulean City?" Scared man emphasized. "Koran City?" Eminem was startled when he heard this. "I was in Cerulean City. I was jealous of Jin, but this person really didn't look like he was from a black organization. It couldn't be the cross-dressing guy who hypnotized the professor and was looking for revenge, right?" Seeing the confused look on Eminem's face, the scarred man became even more unhappy. He came up to push Eminem away and said, "Stop talking nonsense. If you still want to see Zyuksha, just come here honestly." Eminem dodged the guy's pushing hand without leaving a trace, and at the same time his eyes were focused, and he threatened his traveling companion. It seems that if it's not Team Flare, then it's some other dangerous person. So Eminem said in a deep voice, "Lead the way." At the same time, Eminem is also in contact with Kaoparis in his consciousness. At least be prepared to slap him. HMPH. Seeing this, the scarred man grumbled and led the way. It was a little different from what Eminem had imagined. He didn't go to any hidden corner. The scarred man even took himself into a car. Not long after, I came to a private gym that was not very lively, but not very deserted either. Those who had not obtained official gym qualifications were private gyms, and the number far exceeded the official gyms. The most famous one is naturally the Konoha gym in Golden City. Like the Light Red gym, it is a gym that focuses on ninja culture, but the Light Red gym focuses on the poison type, while the Konoha gym focuses on the fighting type. Before Natsu was born, the Konoha gym had always been the Golden gym. That is, the official gym. Even now, it is not small in scale, but it can't compare with the Golden Gym where the Super Queen is as the center of the Alliance. Quartz City naturally has many people who responded to the Alliance's call and opened gyms here. However, there are generally not many students. After all, the permanent population is not large. The gym seemed to have stopped operating today. When I came to the door, as if to give Eminem a show of strength, 2 rows of big men were lined up from the door. They all looked fierce. However, after getting off the bus, Eminem's face remained as usual, and he walked in under the gaze of 2 rows of big men. At the same time, I was thinking about who these people are. A folk gym in Quartz City? Obviously not. At least not just people from this folk gym. It's probably someone they know who borrowed this place, or maybe the ghost hall was just a cover. After arriving at the gym, Eminem found that the gym was also antique, with wooden pillar corridors and even impractical floors. This digging wouldn't the wood have to break a hole? For gyms, battle arenas, etc., direct contact with the ground is the most reliable point in a blink of an eye. Eminem was taken to the main hall by the scarred man. Not only were there 2 rows of middle-aged men kneeling in the room, who did not look like good people, but there were also 2 words benevolence and righteousness written behind the empty main seat. A word Eminem couldn't help but pout when he saw this. After noticing Eminem's expression, the scarred man couldn't help scolding. "Asshole, are you looking down on us? You know they really have the temperament of a little gangster." Eminem thought they were some gangsters from some kind of organization, and couldn't help but sarcastically said, "It's all superficial. Boss Sakaki knows, right? I chatted and laughed with him. He's on the level of the Rockets. I don't know how much higher than you. That's it. Do you still want to intimidate me, everyone?" Just when the atmosphere in the main hall was not good, Eminem was ready to summon KO Paris, as long as the opponent released the Pokémon first or acted inappropriately. With a crash, the sliding door at the back of the hall was pushed open, and a fierce-looking man, accompanied by a bald head, walked to the main seat. Slim Shady. Eminem suddenly realized that he seemed to have misunderstood something. First of all, I have seen this bald Eminem before, but when I saw him before, he was always wearing a hat and a scarf. It was Uncle Guang who followed Eminem when he was in Cerulean City before. That is, the old subordinate of the master of the explosive flame hall. And this very fierce man, if you erase some of the ferocious temperament and replace this classical robe with a certain ninja village style with ordinary trainer clothes, you can immediately tell that it is the Bakuan gym leader. Eminem has never seen Director Bakuan in person, but has only seen him in official promotional pictures and some competition videos. Well, after all, he is the leader of an official gym, so he should pay attention to his temperament and not scare the children or damage the official image. Now Eminem finally understands why Scarman mentioned Cerulean City and why he used not seeing Xyloxia as a threat. Eminem, right? You and Sakaki are very familiar with each other? Haha. But just because you are familiar with Sakaki, doesn't that mean you can yell at me, right? Baoan is only 50 years old this year, but he obviously has no intention of pretending to be young. Instead, he looks very old-fashioned when he opens his mouth. Chapter 327. The Master of Explosive Flame Hall. The games were all over on the morning of the 28th. After Xyloxia walked out of the field, she looked around suspiciously, but she didn't see her father or Uncle Guang. She was still a little confused. Didn't she say that they would come at noon today? Pick yourself up, forget it if you don't come. Xyloxia muttered and curled her lips. Just when Xyloxia was about to contact Eminem, Uncle Guan drove over in the car that had just picked up Eminem. When facing Xyloxia, Uncle Guan made a point of showing as kind an expression as possible and said, "Xyloxia, get in the car. Uncle Guan will take you there." Upon seeing this, Xyloxia opened the car door and got in the car and asked, "Why is the old man so reluctant to go out?" "Of course the host is here to watch your game, Xyloxia," Uncle Guang said matter-of-factly. "Haha, I hope he has booked the tickets. My relatives and friends have all chosen their tickets." Xyloxia curled her lips and said, "It is still difficult to buy tickets for the official Kanto rookie tournament. Although the alliance has also cracked down on it, ticket speculation has been repeatedly banned. Generally, the only option is to buy high-priced tickets from scalpers. The contestants who are shortlisted for the official competition will receive tickets as gifts from relatives and friends." But Xyloxia's tone is, "I won't give them to you, don't worry. The owner and organizer have applied, and you will be admitted as a special guest," Uncle Guang said in a tone of "don't worry." Xyloxia, well, after all, he is a retired official gym and the owner of one of the 8 major gyms, so he still has to worry about tickets. Why is the old man so mysterious? If you want to have dinner together, wouldn't you just tell me the name of the restaurant? Xyloxia asked in confusion. Baoan said he wanted to have dinner with Xyloxia, probably because last time Xyloxia returned to Hualien, she didn't even go back to the gym, so she was hit by the explosion. Instead, of going to a restaurant. I have an uncle who is also a good friend of the gym owner. Now he also opens a gym and Feng Shui gym in Quartz City. Let's go directly there to eat. It's a family dinner. Uncle Guang said, while looking at Xiaoxia. He was fiddling with the illustrated book and seemed to be calling someone. Seeing that Xiaoxia was getting more and more irritable and seemed to be unable to contact her, so Uncle Guang reminded her, by the way, Mr. Eminem has also been invited by the owner. Xiaoxia just stopped and frowned. Really? Arriving at the entrance of the gym, Xiaoxia immediately came in with Uncle Guang, only to find that there was no one there. Huh? Where are the old man and the Amu people? Xiaoxia asked doubtfully. Miss, the owner and Mr. Amu are taking a bath, the scarred man said at this time. Xiaoxia frowned when she heard this, knowing that the old man must be up to something again. At the same time, Eminem is indeed a little nervous now. First, he spoke wildly in front of the owner of the explosive flame pavilion, but ended up being stunned because the other person was Xiaoxia's father, and Uncle Guang had indirectly helped Eminem before, so Eminem couldn't say anything at this time. In fact, when he was in Hualan City before, Eminem had proposed that he wanted Xiaoxia to take him to Uncle Guang's house to thank him. The 3 senior sisters had already been there, but Eminem didn't catch up. Although he didn't directly help Eminem, it was Uncle Guang's timely intervention that prevented Muden's daring intrusion from causing any serious problems. Otherwise Eminem wouldn't have been involved. It's just that Xiaoxia made 3 putts and 5 putts, but she didn't make it in time. It was only later that Eminem found out that when Xiaoxia was in Hualan City, she never went home once in her life. Eminem had never heard too much about the owner of the Bakuan Pavilion from Xiaoxia before, so only then did Eminem know that Bakuan turned out to be this painting style. He vaguely understood why Xiaoxia she is no longer interested in her father after Baoan praised Eminem in a polite way. He then asked to have a frank meeting. Well, physical honesty. Invite Eminem to take a bath together. There is actually an antique bath in this gym. Eminem was actually not very willing to take a shower or something. After all, he said he was being frank, so naturally he couldn't bring the Pokeball with him, and there was no place to hide it if he wanted to secretly take it with him. Right. The owner of the explosive flame pavilion came up with an attitude of I'm going to give you a blow, so Eminem naturally didn't want to talk frankly to him, but there was no chance to refuse. After thinking about it, Eminem felt that there was nothing to worry about. After all, Bakuan didn't bring a Pokeball with him when he had a frank meeting. One thing to say, even though Baoan looks fierce now, Eminem feels that with the strength of the leader of Baoan Hall, no matter what, if there is a fight, neither side will bring elves. This is Eminem taking advantage. Otherwise, even Eminem's 1vs6 might not be able to break the situation. What's more, Eminem felt that Baoan probably wanted to scare him and try to find out Xiaoxia's tone from him, but even so, Eminem is still a little awkward now, because I originally thought it was the master of the Bakuan gym who wanted to take a bath with me, but the bathhouse in this gym was really big. Now, in addition to the leader of the pavilion, there are also 20 or 30 ferocious middle-aged men who are also soaking in the pool, vaguely surrounding Eminem with 2 wings, with the main position of Baoan in the middle. Master of the explosive flame pavilion really likes hot water. Amu felt that the water was very hot, but with his own constitution, he could handle it. Maybe it was because of being a fire trainer, but none of the 20 or 30 uncles present felt hot. There's nothing we can do. We are all hotheads. Ha ha ha. Baoan smiled and lit a cigar for himself. There was an ashtray on the tray floating next to him. The term fire guy has been around for a long time. Nowadays, almost no one uses this word. Eminem felt the deep generation gap and could only laugh along with it. However, Baoan immediately straightened his face and said, but who would have thought that Huo Leo would actually have a water type daughter? Attribute tendencies are not all due to genetics, Eminem said following Baoan point, but when Baoan heard this statement, he became even more angry. Oh, so you also think it makes sense for Xiaoxia to be a water trainer? Eminem feels the resentment of Baoan. Is this probably one of the reasons why Zyarksha is unwilling to go home? No, no, no. Of course the owner of the explosive flame hall knows better about the trainer's attribute tendencies. I'm still just a primary school student in this regard. Eminem pushed back the question with humility. Zyarksha's talents in water and fire are almost the same. Baoan emphasized. I see. Eminem just nodded and didn't say much. Point after all, what Zyarksha chooses is not her own decision. Point in the silence of a room full of naked men. Eminem took the initiative to add, but Zyarksha is actually quite stressed at ordinary times. After all, she always regards my 3 senior sisters as targets. Amu estimated that the owner of the explosive flame pavilion was looking for him to find out what was going on with Zyarksha. After all, from the looks of it, he was the type who was not good at communicating with his daughter. Chapter 328, Speaking Out of Integrity. After Eminem talked about Zyarksha, Baoan really seemed very interested, so Eminem also talked about this emphatically. In addition to helping Baoan understand his daughter, he also regarded himself as Zyarksha's mouth substitute and helped her say some things that might not be easy for her to say to her father herself. Baoan was expressionless and silent at first. After listening for a while, he put on a super dire expression and said, "Boy, I haven't interrupted you for a long time. You still think you are good at talking, don't you? According to you, is it still my problem?" "No, I'm just talking about what I saw," Eminem said without being humble or condescending. "Don't think that I'm afraid of you naked men." Seeing how difficult it was for Baoan to communicate, Eminem felt more and more that Zyarksha's rebellion must be his problem. So, Eminem stood up proudly and said confidently in front of everyone, "It's a little too hot. I'll leave first." Well, if this was a cold shower, I might not be so confident, no matter how much they pretended to be the fierce uncles around him. Amu thought they were envious of them, and as expected, no one really stopped him from leaving. Eminem came out and was about to get his clothes when a rush of footsteps came over. Before Eminem could react, while Zyarksha opened the door. Zyarksha. Wow. Zyarksha closed the door. "Hurry up. Call the old man out too. It's already late, but we haven't started dinner yet." Zyarksha shouted in a deliberately covered manner. At first she thought that her father was giving Eminem a hard time, so she came over angrily, ready to yell. Anyway, if everyone was in the pool, Zyarksha wouldn't be able to see anything at the door in terms of personality. Zyarksha is also a fire guy. However, unexpectedly, Eminem was already in the dressing room and looked like he had just come out of the bath. If there are many people, Zyarksha will naturally hear it right outside the door. With Eminem alone, she doesn't have such sensitive ears. Oh. Eminem was also startled. He heard footsteps, but thought it was Uncle Guan. It was only then that Eminem realized that it was her father who was looking for her. When Zyarksha said something happened at noon. I just wanted to go back, but after hesitating, Eminem decided to put on clothes first. After all, it would feel weird to go back naked to convey Zyarksha's words. Seeing Amu getting dressed and coming back, Baoan and others who were gathering together in the pool and discussing something in low voices were embarrassed at first, and then showed a more fierce expression, with a posture of "What are you doing back here, young people today? Don't they even understand why you can't wear clothes in the sacred bathroom?" Baoan asked angrily. Zyarksha said, "I want to eat quickly." Eminem reminded weakly. Blah blah blah. A large group of people got up and left together. When he came to the living room, Eminem saw the real owner of this gym for the first time. At this time, he and Baoan were sitting on the main seat. Ruoyu Fengshu, who seemed to be a bit old and unsmiling. The old man was older than Baoan, but compared to the tall and strong Baoan, he was very short. In the restaurant, the low table style sharing of meals that was popular among aristocrats from various countries during the Ninja Village period was still in the restaurant. This made Eminem, who had no interest in ancient customs before or after the time travel, feel uncomfortable, but he still knelt down and sat down. On the front seat are Bakuan and the master of Feng Shui Hall. On both sides are the guests who came with Bakuan, and on the other side are the gym trainers who follow the master of Feng Shui Hall. The similarity between the two parties is that there are not many young people. The difference is, the gym trainers brought by Baoan look more fierce, while the gym trainers on Feng Shu's side, although they all wear he is an ancient costume and has a serious look, but he feels more refined and refined. Eminem and Zyloksha were specially arranged at the positions closest to the main seat on both sides. Zyloksha, this is Uncle Feng Shu, you don't remember, right? He even hugged you. Baoan said very old-fashioned words. Eminem doesn't know why. Did people in the past like to disappear after holding their children? But the paintings in your bedroom must be impressive, right? Those are the works of Uncle Feng Shu. In addition to being a Pokémon master, Uncle Feng Shu is also a famous painter. Baoan introduced in a good voice. Eminem couldn't help but look over and over again. Baoan's attitude seemed a little different from what he had imagined. Hello, Uncle Feng Shu. Zyloksha did not look at her father, but she was still very polite to outsiders. There's no need to be formal, and there's no need to listen to your father's nonsense. Compared to your father, my uncle is far behind in Pokémon training. Although Feng Shu was stern, he still tried his best to be kind. Brother, Feng Shu is so humble. Who doesn't know that you are a master who is proficient in both the rock element and the water element? Baoan said, glancing at Zyloksha, as if to remind her something. To paint a mountain, you have to paint water. Feng Shu didn't think there was anything strange about this. His way of training Pokémon was also his way of painting. Uncle Feng Shu is so awesome. Unlike my father, he can't even take care of the spiny dragon king and Gyarados, and he can't even control the water temperature. Zyloksha complimented the landlord here, and complimented her father by the way. Cough. Cough cough. Amu was drinking tea and choked when he heard the words, but was glared at by Baoan. Slim Shady? Co-author Miss, are all your Pokeballs still bound to the blazing gym? Eminem can already imagine that Bakua and dug a pond in the venue, where fire-type Pokémon survive. For a moment, Eminem felt that he had some misunderstanding. Well, the owner of the Blazing Flame Pavilion, isn't he a bit disrespectful of his daughter? Although he objected at every turn, his daughter teleported the water Pokémon back to his gym. And she still took care of him honestly. But as soon as Amu said this, Baoan kept staring at him. The owner of Feng Shu Pavilion took the initiative and said, is this Mr. Eminem? Well, as expected, heroes come from young. Oh, yes, there are many such teenagers every year. Baoan added in an unpleasant tone, no, expert pharmacists don't come around every year, especially one so young. Feng Shu said sternly, well, if you have a better mind, don't be proud. Baoan added to Eminem unhappily. Slim Shady, if you are so capable, you should tell your daughter. During the meal, the owner of Feng Shu restaurant did not have any no talking rules, but, basically, Zyloksha has been bullying the fierce looking Baoan gym owner, while Baoan is unforgiving and even murderous, but the one who is unforgiving has always been Eminem. The ecological chain is a perfect closed loop. Chapter 329. It's not safe any faster. Seeing that it was already past 1 o'clock, Eminem and Zyloksha were preparing to catch up with the afternoon game and bid farewell to the masters of the Feng Shu Hall and the Blast Flame Hall. Baoan said with a disdainful look at this time, compared to this, I'm completely embarrassed. Let Uncle Guan give it to you. It seemed that Zyloksha's points made him very dissatisfied. In fact, Zyloksha's points are now at the front, and there are still 3 rounds of competition. The probability of qualifying is still not small, but when Baoan faces his daughter, this ferociousness is all on his lips. But before Baoan could finish speaking, Zyloksha said, I won't take your car. I saw Zyloksha talking, releasing the iron armored rhino, then turning over, putting on the helmet, and then throwing a helmet to Eminem. After Eminem took it, he looked at Baoan and Feng Shu. Goodbye, Master Feng Shu. Goodbye, Master Baoan. Eminem said politely, then turned over and sat behind Zyloksha. After Zyloksha patted the armored rhinoceros, the two of them left. Blast flame. Damn, you brat. Baoan Mountain is so big, you can't be discovered, even if you bury a person. Baoan muttered in the most ferocious tone. Feng Shu glanced at him, then turned around and walked back, obviously no longer surprised. But at this time, Baoan really said, Brother Feng Shu, isn't Baoan Mountain very big, eh? Huang and Leoscar also noticed that the boss's expression and tone seemed to be serious at this time. Feng Shui didn't look back, but stopped in his tracks. He didn't know what his expression was. After a pause, he said, "Well, that's right, Baoan." Kept watching Feng Shui walk back, then scratched his head, and then said in a pretentious tone, "You guys, find a place to have fun, and remember this, don't do it in front of the people on the quartz plateau." Disgraced Ahualan men. A group of uncles were shouting and yelling. Although they didn't know where they were going, they probably wouldn't be able to walk more than 2 streets without alerting Junsha. On the other side, seeing Xyloxia riding faster and faster, Eminem reminded, "Ride slower in the city, there's no one anyway." Xyloxia said unhappily. Indeed, there are not many people on the road yet. If you go faster, I won't be able to hold you. I'll have to hug my waist. Eminem said righteously. Xyloxia slow down. After all, in the city, Xyloxia is used to wearing overalls and navel bearing shirts. What did that old man say to you? Xyloxia was a little concerned about what Eminem and her father were doing before she arrived. "I didn't say anything. I just wanted to say that I'm very fierce." After thinking about it for a while, Eminem summed it up. Although Baoan's words were quite harsh, Eminem felt that they had little reference value. In general, it still depends on what Baoan does. For example, after Eminem said that Xyloxia couldn't wait to eat, Baoan and the other uncles cursed in a low voice. When they saw Xyloxia, they also looked noisy and disturbed my interest in taking a bath. Can you die if you are hungry for a while? Style. But in terms of movement, everyone clearly came out of the bath in an orderly manner when they heard that Xyloxia was in a hurry to eat. Xyloxia did not understand what Eminem meant, curled her lips and said, "I'll just say it. The old man and those guys have always been like this. Never listen to what others say. I think they would be quite obedient if they didn't speak. Well, listen to you." Eminem reminded, How did you tell?" Xyloxia didn't realize this. On the one hand, Baoan's mouth is really fierce. On the other hand, Xyloxia has grown up in this environment since she was a child and has become accustomed to it. I don't think there's anything wrong with Baoan saying the cruelest words while digging a pool in a fire-based stadium. Regarding the situation of the father and daughter, Eminem, who no longer wants to get involved, can only say, "I don't know, I just feel I'm an orphan after all." Eminem said confidently. Sure enough, after hearing what Eminem said, Xyloxia no longer talked about family topics with him. "By the way, who is your opponent this afternoon?" Xyloxia returned the topic to business. "I don't know, it's not Xylomeo anyway." Eminem just took the time to glance at the serial number on the information and did not go to major websites to search for information about his opponent. Now Eminem is -6 points, and there are 2 or 3 players in this level. And according to the rules, it is not impossible to match players with -5 and -7. These people are basically seeded players, but Eminem doesn't know them at all. The only thing he knows is that number 1 is Xylomao. "What's the date?" Xyloxia asked. "On the 4th, you can be the first to play, which is good." Eminem sighed. "The game ended early, and you can watch the show later." "No. 4? Xyloxia said in surprise. What's wrong?" Amu asked confused. "You don't know who it is? You're not. Oh, by the way, you weren't there at the time. It was the fairy trainer who fought with me yesterday afternoon." Xyloxia only realized halfway through saying that Eminem didn't leave yesterday afternoon. Watch the game below. Of course, number 4 won the match against Xyloxia, so Xyloxia now has a -13 score, except for being shaving her head by Badger in the first round and directly scoring 9 points. It was yesterday's game lost to number 4, only scored 4 points and lost 4 points in doubles, and this number 4 had -7 points before. He beat Xyloxia and also won this morning. In the afternoon, he was matched with Eminem, who lost 6 points. "Is it a fairy, a boy or a girl?" Amu asked curiously. "Male." Xyloxia said in a tone of "You must be disappointed." "Well, after all, for the fairy type, both men and women are very good looking." Sure enough, Eminem didn't ask any more questions after that, and just said, "I will help you get revenge soon." when you win this afternoon's game, I guess your score will be higher than him. Although Eminem looked very confident, Zyloksha still gave Eminem a brief talk about No 4's doubles Pokémon and doubles tactics after entering the venue. After all, Zyloksha and number 4 were playing doubles yesterday. My opponent is number 10. Among the first batch of games that should start, whichever game ends first, I will start in that game. Zyloksha said after looking at her own games. That must be venue number 4. Come directly to see me. That's right. Eminem put his flags all over the place. Zyloksha, contestant number 4, contestant number 30, please go to venue 4 and take your seats. At this time, Eminem had already arrived at field number 4 and saw his opponent. Indeed, he was a pretty boy who looked devilish, and it's not white enough either. Judging from this appearance, the other party's training in the fairy system should not be enough. Eminem couldn't help but curl his lips and thought to himself, if I continue to choose the moon path, I will definitely not lose to you in terms of appearance. When the two sides shook hands before the game, the pretty boy even said weirdly, it was a really reasonable tactic when we played against Badger in the morning. Haha. Chapter 330 Self-Knife. Eminem smiled slightly at the sarcasm of the pretty boy number 4. Well, I hope you learned it, but it's a pity that it's not very useful in doubles. Eminem's tone is completely you won't be able to reject even one of the doubles. Number 4. The referee ignored the arguments of both players and directly announced, player number 4 will face player number 30. Standard doubles rules, 4 versus 4. Please return to the player positions immediately and send out the starting Pokémon. Eminem and pretty face number 4 walked out of the venue and released their Pokémon at the same time. I saw that contestant number 4 sent out a magic wall doll and an Alola Ninetales. Kyuubi is a Pokémon that is more common in Kanto, and it is also registered in the illustrated book in Kanto. But there is another form of Kyuubi and Alola. Unlike ancient Pokémon, the forms in different regions are stable and will not return to modern forms as they multiply. In the Alola region, the alliance was established later, so I didn't catch up when registering the illustrated book. But thanks to the special climate of the Alola region, some Pokémon have special forms in the Alola region, and these are considered registered in the Alola region. As for the Ninetales in the Alola form, the body shape is similar to the Ninetales from other regions, but not only is its fur all white, but it also has the attributes of ice plus fairy. The fluffy white hair all over the body flutters under the power of the spirit, showing the unique playfulness of the fairy type. As for the magic wall dolls, everyone is familiar with them. Now there are 2 magic wall dolls off the court, cooperating with the on-site installation to isolate the arena. In contrast, Eminem also released 2 Pokémon at this time. After the release light dissipated, only Super Armored Rhinoceros and different Nidoking appeared on Eminem's field. Super Armor Crazy Rhinoceros. I thought he would get into Bulbasaur, Nidoking or Jenga. Does Eminem actually not understand his opponent? How could you not understand that yesterday's opponent on the 4th was the girl on the 31st who is always with Eminem? The poison type restrains the fairy type. Among Eminem's Pokémon, Bulbasaur, Jenga, and Nidoking all have poison type attributes, which can be considered a relatively advantageous matchup. But Eminem actually got into the ground plus rock Super Armored Rhinoceros. Zyloksha also looked angrily at this time. She had clearly told Eminem about the situation of number 4 just now, but he still muttered for a long time, as if he was calculating something. The result is this, but the showdown has begun. I saw the super armored crazy rhino taking the lead. As soon as he extended his arm, flying rocks popped out of the arm tube. However, facing the roaring flying rocks, the magic wall doll stood in front of the Alola Ninetales on the side, and then touched it with his hand, instantly forming an invisible wall in front of him. After 2 muffled sounds, flying rocks as big as a casserole fell to the ground, blocked by the magic wall. The magic wall doll itself can create an invisible barrier, but the battle has just begun. Compared with magic wall doll and Alolan Ninetales, it is obvious that Eminem's 2 Pokémon have a stronger desire to attack. At first glance, player number 4 focuses on defense and avoidance. and seems to be trying his best to avoid a head-on confrontation point at this moment. Alala Ninetales actually used the skill first. I saw the eyes of Alala Ninetales shining for a moment, and then, with the explosion of mental power, a burst of mental fluctuations ripped towards Nido. After Nido felt it, he immediately crossed his arms in front of his chest and curled up as much as possible to avoid being torn apart further. Huh. What's supernatural power? Isn't the ice type, Blizzard, just right? Indeed. Judging from No4's previous record, that Ninetales has clearly mastered Magic Shine and Blizzard, so it is very suitable for doubles. Magic, Sparkle and Blizzard are both large-scale killing skills. If the timing is mastered well, they can cause damage to multiple targets at the same time. Haha, Blizzard? It's true that the super armored crazy rhino can be restrained, but don't forget what props Eminem's super armored crazy rhino brought before. That's right. What's the use of that little restraint? Once the weakness stinger is triggered, isn't the super armor crazy rhino going to kill indiscriminately? Then, there no way. There is a way, but your Pokémon level is a bit lower than others, so there is nothing we can do. What do you mean by you people? You are the same. At least I analyzed it. This analysis is correct. Number 4 did not dare to use the ice type, Blizzard, out of this consideration, while the fairy type, Magic Shine, did little damage to Nidoking and super armored rhinoceros. It can't be solved immediately, so after weighing the left and right, number 4 chose the conservative super move, supernatural power, but at this moment, I saw Eminem's Nidoking stomping his feet, and the ground was suddenly shaken by it. It was exactly what Nido had demonstrated before, when he fought against Xiaoming. Earthquake. Yes, this timing was not a coincidence. In fact, Nido had his skills ready first due to his level advantage. However, he did not use the skills immediately, but waited for a while point. If the Alala Ninetales had just been greedy and used the ice type, Blizzard, then it would be another way of playing now. But now, Earthquake? What are you doing? Why not use Sludge Wave? In yesterday's battle, I remember this Nidoking used it. Wait a minute. In this case, the super armor crazy rhino was also attacked. He wanted to. Weakness stinger is activated. Yes, Earthquake is different from range attacks such as Magic Sparkle and Blizzard. The latter attacks a specific range. Although it may accidentally injure one's own people, in the final analysis it can be controlled. Earthquake is an indiscriminate attack, centered on itself, and transmitted in all directions. If you only master this skill initially, you cannot control its direction and range point. If your skills have been awakened, you can naturally play tricks, but this has nothing to do with Eminem, who is still a newbie. The reason why Nido specially brought Earthquake, which he is not good at, is to wait for this move. Ground type, restrains. Rock type, super armored crazy rhino is theoretically weak to the ground, but Aduan has the property of hard rock and super high physical defense. The damage caused by this earthquake is nothing to it. Instead, it became a boost to stimulate weakness needle. Eminem has tried this chain many times before, and it is basically at a limit. Although weakness stinger is activated when receiving an attack that restrains its own attributes, but if it is too weak, it cannot be activated. It is impossible. It is said that the king level Pokémon is equipped with weakness stinger, and the effect is shot out by a level 5 cute creature. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331 Explosive Killing. Nido is a forced special attack on Nidoking, and the earthquake force of the physical attack is not very powerful if you use Arduan as the target, regardless of Arduan's weak ground, but under the cover of super high physical defense and hard rock properties, it will take almost 10 shots in a row to hit Arduan's face before it can't withstand the blow. Fainted after losing battle point. This is almost the lower limit for triggering weakness sting, but if Fanny adds more water, this effect will not come out. As for No4's Alala Ninetales and Magic Wall Doll, it was not easy to catch this earthquake. They were all weak from the seams in their bones under the shock of the earth's fluctuations. Receiving 3 to 5 rounds is the limit point after all. The magic wall doll number 4 is in the Kanto form. This form of magic wall doll cannot continue to evolve, and its race value is not high. The Kyuubi is slightly stronger, but it is not good at defense point after this. Earthquake, Duan's weakness stinger was triggered, and his power exploded, even though the magic wall doll also opened the reflective wall. Right after, he was still confused by Arduin hammer. Seeing that Nado's skill was ready for the second time, Arduin finally got the skill ready for the first time and directly fired. Rock collapse. Everyone saw the super armored crazy rhino on the field. With a wave of his hand, countless boulders condensed from rock type power fell from the sky and smashed into the opponent one after another. The endurance of a Lola Ninetales is stronger than that of Magic Wall Doll, but it can't withstand the weak ice element and rock element. Super Armor Crazy Rhino fired a rock slide after 2 stages. Even with the cover of reflective wall, they were both knocked unconscious. Eminem curled up his lips at this time. After Zyuksha and Eminem talked about the type and approximate level of Pokémon number 4, Eminem did the math in his mind. 1 shot from Nido, earthquake. 1 shot from Arduin. 2 steps of inspiring rock collapse. Plus the accumulation of blows outside of skills. The damage is just right. After all, the values of Pokémon are originally statistical results calculated by humans, and can naturally be used for calculations. However, this kind of calculation is only useful in the new period. When you reach the heaven leaking level, awakening characteristics and attributes will be all over the place, and all kinds of unexpected awakening skills will come out, which cannot be calculated by a set of data. Alala, Kyuubi and the Magic Wall Doll have lost their combat effectiveness. Player number 4 is asked to exchange Pokémon as soon as possible. The referee announced, "You actually use your own Pokémon to hurt your own Pokémon. This is not beautiful at all." Pretty boy No 4's face was still sulking. "No, victory is the most beautiful thing. Otherwise you can just go to the gorgeous contest," Eminem said with feigned disdain. A reporter on the side immediately wrote down silently, shocked. Eminem actually despised the coordinator during the competition, a certain contestant. Even dogs don't even watch the gorgeous competition. Eminem was not afraid of delays, so number 4 would have been better off grinding for a while. Anyway, while he was delaying, Arduin's skills had been being prepared. It's a pity that number 4 is not stupid, and his hands are not too slow. He immediately took back the fainted Alola Kyuubi and the Magic Wall Doll. At the same time, Mary Lulian Flame Horse appeared on the field. And it's not an ordinary flaming horse, but a flaming horse in the form of Gala. The mane is not only long, but also not in the shape of flames, but in the shape of rainbow-like clouds. The same is true for the horse's hooves and tail. The long horn is also longer and more conspicuous than the ordinary flame horse, and its attributes are naturally the same. The ordinary flame horse is different. It has superpower plus fairy attributes. Overall, this is a sunny and rainbow little white horse. Eminem estimates that number 4 is a native of the Kanto region, but he has the habit of traveling to many places during his travels, so his flaming horse and Ninetales will hatch into the forms of other regions. This is also a magical aspect of Pokémon genes. It is said that there are different forms in different regions. This is not surprising. Many ordinary animals have this situation, but if the egg of the Kyuubi from the Kanto region is taken to the Alola region, it is possible to hatch the Kyuubi in the form of the Alola region. This is absolutely an unexplainable phenomenon among humans and other ordinary animals, and it does not conform to the theory of evolution at the level of ordinary animals. The 2 Pokémon on the field had just appeared, and the next moment they were swept over by a sludge wave. Of course Nado has a sludge wave that everyone has been awaited for a long time. After all, the fairy type is weakly poisonous. Moreover, the 2 Pokémon on number 4 had just appeared on the scene at this time. There was no chance to dodge, and they were all perfectly hit. Neither of the 2 Pokémon are known for their durability or special defense. A 95 power force plus life orb sludge wave came down, and the sunshine rainbow little white horse was directly hit by the wind. Molalula's body was filled with vegetation energy, and her vitality rebounded after a sudden drop. It was obviously the pomelo fruit she had eaten before the game, and now the effect came into play. No, 4's face turned ugly for a moment. How could he fight? Originally, in his strategy, Magic Wall Doll should have opened a double wall first, and then Malaluli came up, took the cover of the double wall, and opened abdominal drum, and then, when Yaoguo recovered, wave in this way. It is not impossible to directly kill Eminem by relying on her physical strength that is still within the normal range and the cover of the double wall, with Malilla's attack motivation reaching level 6. But if Malaluli opened abdominal drum now, she would probably fall to her knees. Moreover, the mere reflective wall cannot withstand the output of the opposing super armored rhinoceros and Nidoking, seeing that Galliflame Horse was about to be knocked out by basic attacks other than skills. Number 4 had no choice but to raise his hand. Player number 4 abstains, and the game is over. Player number 30 scores 8 points and player number 4 scores 0 points. The referee announced directly after seeing the gesture of player number 4, "Is this the end? Fight until the end." What's the point of fighting? The flame horse was beaten almost to the point of losing the battle as soon as it appeared on the scene. The main reason is that as soon as Malaluli showed up, when Iao Fruit was played out and the tactics immediately collapsed. That's right, it's impossible to defeat any of Amu's Pokémon. Just as Eminem said, this one ends first, so Zyuxia is right here to watch. After the game, the two sides shook hands again. Number 4 had a straight face, while Eminem said with a smile, "Good tactics, good tactics." No. For Eminem is not completely sarcastic. It is true that number 4 has a strategy, but the difference in strength is a bit big. If both parties are at about the same level, there is actually no chance. It's just that Eminem answered what he said before the game on the 4th with practical actions. Tactics must be supported by strength. Point kill directly. No tactics are used. In the end, number 4 was in Eminem's hands, and he couldn't even get a single point. Chapter 332 Attribute Awakening. After Eminem killed number 4, he watched Zyuxia's game again. After a fierce battle, Zyuxia won the final victory and scored 8 points, one step closer to qualifying point. After Zyuxia's game, Eminem still didn't leave, but was looking forward to the next game. Number 32 versus number 33, that is, Bajie vs. Xiaolang. Eminem has already felt the strength of Bajie before, but I believe that Xiaolang can test out more of Bajie's strength. It's just that the little wolf shouldn't be able to win. Eminem has played against Xiaolang before, and he has also watched Xiaolang's games in the past few days. There is still a gap between him and Bajie, especially this is a doubles match that Xiaolang is not good at. A wizard type trainer is equivalent to casting a spell himself, and the Pokémon is just a wand point, and a wizard will not have double the output just because he has 2 wands. Therefore, Xiaolang's strength is better displayed in singles. In the morning, Xiaolang directly killed Xiaomao in singles. In everyone's mind, he was firmly ranked 2nd in strength, and even ranked 3rd among some players. Now it's the afternoon game, the doubles showdown. Please invite contestants number 32 and number 33 to court number 8. Along with the sound of the announcement, almost all the players who were not competing came to the number 8 venue, including Eminem and Zyuxia. Player number 32 will face player number 33. Standard doubles rules. 4 versus 4. Please send out your starting Pokémon. The referee announced. I saw that Bajie directly sent Fairy Eevee and Moon Eevee, and what appeared from Xiaolang's side was indeed Thunderbird Dragon and Ninetales, different from the previous Alola Ninetales on number 4. Sioran is just an ordinary Kanto Kyuubi, obviously a Pokémon he conquered in Kanto. As for the Alola Ninetales and Galliflame Horse on number 4, Eminem probably conquered the Pokémon eggs first, and then went to the Alola region and the Galar region to hatch them. So the rules are also it can be regarded as the conquest of Kanto area. Because Sioran also belongs to the type of Pokémon with many attributes. Bajie does not have the Eevee evolution with elemental attributes, but the first evolution of Fairy and Evil Eevee. As for Xiaolang's attribute tendencies, Eminem probably has Thunder, Fire, and Ice as the main ones, and Water and Wind as a supplement. After all, he is a mage in terms of Pokémon's attributes. They are Electric, Fire, Ice, Water, and Flying. The Battle begins. As soon as the two sides fought, Eminem felt Xiaolang's weakness. When facing other people, Sioran's weakness of low Pokémon level is not very obvious, but against Badger, whose average Pokémon level should be between level 75 and 80, this weakness it became obvious that 2EV were fighting with the Thunderbird and Ninetales, who were completely chasing the little wolf. However, Xiaolang did not disappoint everyone. Compared with Fairy Eevee and Moon Eevee, who are not very fast and generally do not tend to cultivate speed, Thunderbird Dragon still has the skills ready first. At this time, Xiaolang didn't cover up at all. He straightened the wooden sword upright, and he also took out a talisman seal, put it on the sword, and it spontaneously ignited without fire. The Thunder Emperor has summoned us, as urgent as a law. Xiaolang shouted directly. People who don't know the truth. Referee. The next moment, the whole body of Thunderbird Dragon burst out with strong electric energy, which was far larger than the previous awakening skills. Except for a few people, including Badger and Eminem, most of the other players present didn't know what was going on. Although there are some hot-blooded trainers who will yell and cheer when commanding Pokémon, but no one has ever seen such a good one. As for the referee, you can tell by his face that he is from the Darn George family. He naturally knows about magic, but he hesitated and did not count Xiaolang as a foul point. If we really want to talk about the rules, it's fine for Xiaolang to just shout and dance the sword, but using talisman and seal script is suspected of using props outside the venue. But generally speaking, it is still based on whether you actually enter the venue. In fact, real graduates of wizard schools will not participate in official competitions. So referees have very little experience in this area. Huh. What kind of command technique is this? No, I guess it's some kind of special ability. Wait a minute. The electric beak delay is too big this time. Why hasn't it been released yet? Maybe it's not electric beak. Huh? Why don't you use electric beak at this time? Obviously, Xiaolang used some kind of electric skill, but I don't know why. Thunderbird Dragon was desperately discharged at this time, but the skill was not activated. Eminem's face suddenly changed at this moment, as if he realized something. No, he should be charging. At this moment, Eminem discovered that the electricity burst out by Thunderbird Dragon was flowing back into his body. If it's just charging, it's nothing. But after this move, the upper body of Thunderbird Dragon, which symbolizes the electricity attribute, expanded in a circle and seemed to be more coordinated with the lower body. Moreover, the lightning-like scales on the elbows were obviously enlarged and flashed with electric light. This is wait. I seem to have seen the same thing with the Thunderbird Dragon of a King in Gala. Could it be? No. How could charging have such an effect? Electric awakening. Is this an electric awakening? That's right. More and more people are realizing that Xiaolang's charge directly awakens the Thunderbird Dragon electric type. Although it is only at the level of level 1, it is still a bit incredible for this scene to appear among the new trainers and the Thunderbird who has not grown to the limit. Of course, there is a difference between this and a real electric awakening. If it is a real electric awakening, there is no need to charge to activate it, but it will always remain like this. As for the actual effect, it remains to be seen. At the same time, the skill of Fairy Eevee was ready at this time, and he directly hit. Big sound. I saw the cute looking Fairy Eevee making a roaring look, and there was a burst of sound. Among them, star energy swept across. The power of the stars is part of the fairy system in this world, while the power from the moon is shared by the evil system and the fairy system. Big sound. It was originally a normal type of move, but this Fairy Eevee obviously has the characteristics of fairy skin. It can use the power of the fairy system to launch normal moves. Big sound is a large-scale killing skill that directly sweeps half of the field. For Xiaolang, the good news is that Ninetales dodges quickly, but the bad news is the Thunderbird Dragon suspected of electric awakening level 1 was still swept away. I saw the electrical energy around Thunderbird Dragon fluctuating at this time. Unfortunately, there was electrical energy blocking it, so the sound of the stars did not compete for full power. Otherwise, according to the strength of both sides, the Thunderbird dragon who belongs to the dragon type dragon, this time there is a danger of being killed. Chapter 333 Thunderbolt Explosion. I saw Fairy Eevee making a loud sound, and the sound wave formed by the fairy energy directly blew away the electric energy around Thunderbird dragon. However, it was precisely because of this obstruction that Thunderbird dragon just rolled out and was not directly killed instantly. Excluding the awakening attribute, the gap between the two sides was still very large. Fairy Ibrahimovic restrained the dragon type with one strike. The fairy type's natural attribute is big sound, which is enough to kill Thunderbird dragon instantly. Point in today's trainer world, there are different opinions on how to calculate combat power by awakening attribute. Point there is something unreasonable in any calculation, but generally speaking, the awakening of L1 level is directly plus 10,000 inches. Let's use this standard to measure whether a Pokémon reaches a level of a king or a king. Of course, if we want to estimate combat effectiveness more realistically, we have not yet concluded a universal algorithm. We can only concrete problems and specific analysis, like now, the surge of electrical energy in Thunderbird Dragon has resisted some attacks. In fact, in essence, it is not an additional resistance to attacks, but the electricity attribute after awakening, covering up the lost part of his dragon attributes, indirectly weakening the ability of the fairy type skills to restrain him. Point in addition, Eminem estimates that part of the reason is that the skill charge that just triggered the electric awakening level 1. This skill itself can stimulate a period of special defense, and this original effect should still be there. Point at the same time, the Thunderbird dragon rolled violently, and a burst of vegetation energy rippled around its body. Satchel potion. Amu judged decisively. After all, he was very sensitive to potions, and he had also used this kind of potion, a potion with Satchel fruit as the main ingredient. Point sure enough, at the next moment, Thunderbird Dragon was once again filled with electricity. Satchel potion, after taking effect, Pokémon can overdraw its skills once. During the previous duel between Eminem and Xiaomao, the coconut egg tree was given the harvest attribute, and Satchel potion was used. The result was that under the effect of sunny weather, the skill accumulation speed of the coconut egg tree was completely harvest. The speed of effective results replaces point now. Of course, Thunderbird Dragon does not have the harvest characteristic. This is a one-shot deal. In short, when the physical strength drops to a certain level, it can preemptively attack once, which means it can overdraw a skill. The Thunder Emperor is calling. Xiaolang raised his wooden sword and shouted loudly. Point the onlookers who did not know the truth only thought that this was a special and second-rate way of encouraging. At the same time, the electricity around Thunderbird Dragon was seen boiling, and it soared towards Fairy Eevee in the form of a Thunder Dragon. Point from a skill perspective, this move is indeed Electric Beak, but as an awakening skill. The external performance has long been unable to look like the original version. Point, but the nature is still there. The damage caused to Pokémon that is not in the skill ready state is doubled, and now Xiaolang's Thunderbird Dragon has an electric attribute awakening level 1. The power bonus to electric skills is far beyond the ordinary attribute bonus. In addition, the charge that has just activated the electric awakening is also exerting its own effect. After charging, the power of the next electric skill will be doubled. Under the multiple blessings, amidst the lightning and thunder, Fairy Ibrahimovic screamed and fainted with a slight black and grey look on his body. Fairy Eevee has lost her fighting ability. Player number 32, please change Pokémon as soon as possible. The referee just announced and immediately added, Thunderbird has lost the battle. Please contestant number 33 change Pokémon as soon as possible, because everyone's attention was focused on Fairy Eevee by Thunder Dragon. Many people discovered that the Thunderbird Dragon on the other side also fell. Ibrahimovic defeated Badgie with one blow. Huh. What's going on? Why did Xiaolang's Thunderbird fall too? That was the awakened form of Electric Beak just now, right? It shouldn't have the effect of self-harm. It has been abnormal since its attribute awakening after charging, but now it falls. But it is normal, that's right. Maybe this is the awakening effect of its charge. Well, awakening skills are just that. Awakening attributes are more high-end training results than awakening skills and awakening characteristics. It is incredible that it will appear in Pokémon at level 50 or 60, even if it is temporary. Both sides changed Pokémon almost at the same time. According to the rules, Fairy Eevee was eliminated first, and then Thunderbird was exhausted. In fact, Badgie should have replaced the Pokémon first, and then Sioran could use Badgie. The result of the substitution will determine the order in which you play. The referee also implies this meaning when announcing. Otherwise he would not announce it in 2 sentences. However, Little Wolf was so reckless that he directly replaced the Pokémon with Badger at the same time. I saw that Badger's appearance was the water Eevee that Eminem had targeted in the morning, while the one on the Little Wolf's side was a big bird. Eminem can probably guess Badger's logic. Xiaolang is obviously a multi-attribute trainer, which means, although it is difficult to estimate his Pokémon, after Thunderbird was eliminated, he took out the next one still has the lowest probability of being an electric type. After all, with 4 wands, there shouldn't be 2 of them with the same attribute, right? Therefore, Badgie took out water Eevee. Firstly, it was because the probability of the opponent using the electric type again was low, and secondly, it was also more resistant to the existing fire type Ninetales on the field. Sure enough, Xiaolang's replacement was the flying type Big Bird. Eminem felt that he didn't consider, based on the opponent at all, but just used whatever was convenient for him. At this time I saw the Ninetales of the Little Wolf. At this time, all Ninetales were stretched out, and his expression became more fierce, and waves of restlessness were already pouring out. Sure enough, Xiaolang raised his sword again, and then shouted, "The god of fire is summoning." Crack. Everyone, Slim Shady? Although the second half of the sentence could be heard clearly, the Little Wolf's tongue seemed to suddenly become more flexible, and he was giggling as he read it. Eminem reckons this is the result of his study abroad. At the same time, the firepower of Kyuubi spread out unscrupulously in an instant. Eminem felt keenly that this was overheating. Regardless of friend or foe, it releases its own firepower with maximum power. After using it, due to mental overdraft, the special attack is suppressed for 2 stages. In other words, just like Flying Leaf Storm, after using it, the special attacker will basically there is no output point, because it is Xiaolang who is guiding. The overheating of Kyuubi is naturally an awakening skill, but it is not awakened in the direction of distinguishing between ourselves and the enemy. It is still like self-destruction, indiscriminately spreading to all directions, sending out billowing heat waves. The Moon Eevee who had not had time to do anything, and the Water Eevee who had just been released, were all severely damaged. Of course, the injuries of the 2 were not as serious as Dabby Bird, especially Water Eevee, which was even in good condition. And Xiaolang's Big Bird was burned to the point of being almost candles in the wind by his teammates. Huh. What's going on? His Big Bird has just come on stage. It's not worth it. Is this a blow to a teammate? But then, Xiaolang used his actions to prove that everything was still in his plan. I saw the aura of Shacho Potion also emanating from Dabby Bird. Although he has just appeared, Dabby Bird can overdraw his skills immediately. Xiaolang also took out a talisman. Fenghua summons you, and you are as urgent as the law. Chapter 334. Who is strong and who is weak? Eminem discovered that when Little Wolf was seriously casting spells, he would either use 20th Summon plus Urgent Order plus Talisman, or mix and match 20th Summon plus Magic Spell without using Talisman. The latter is weaker than the former, but the advantage is, it saves 1 Talisman. In addition, even the latter is better than not casting spells seriously before, that is. It is much better than muttering quietly and not making any big movements while reciting spells at this time. Under the summoning of glory by Xiaolang, the flying energy of Dabby Bad surges all over the body. Flying system originally contains the meaning of wind generally speaking. Serious injuries will also affect combat effectiveness, but this problem does not exist for the big bird on the field now, because it is a little wolf who is attacking now. Not surprisingly, the violent wind element, or flight element power was seen constantly pouring into the field with the wings of the big bird flapping, and as the fanning becomes faster and faster, the flying power becomes more and more violent. It's Storm, Xiaolang. This is a tactic of total destruction. I'm afraid you're ready to trade 1 for 2. Right, indeed. If he trades 1 with badges Ibrahimovic for 2, he is not at a loss. The onlookers will realize this. Storm is also an uncontrollable move that attacks the entire field, but generally speaking, this move is easy to avoid, unless it is in a rainy day climate. Rainy day, not only the fire element energy is suppressed and the water element energy is enhanced, but it also affects the flying element. Some of the electric moves will also have a positive impact, but the storm of Dabby Bird is also an awakening skill that is unreasonable and expected. Moreover, the direction of awakening is still not to separate ourselves from the enemy, but to be more powerful, larger in scope, and more violent, making the special airflow formed by the flying energy in it more dense and inescapable. Suddenly, the water EV, Moon EV and the Kyuubi who looked like he was overdrawn were all involved. Kyuubi was the first to be rolled up, followed closely by Water EV who had no sharp claws, and soon Moon EV couldn't hold on to the ground. The 3 of them were blown around in mid-air, and then fell back to the ground. I saw that the 3 of them had fainted with their eyes spinning. Immediately afterwards, the Dabby Bird also fell back to the ground. It was trembling, and seemed to have no strength to fly. It first supported the ground with its wings, and then lay down unable to hold on. More importantly, Eminem noticed at this time, Little Wolf had begun to pant slightly, and more importantly, his eyes began to wander. My energy is beginning to be exhausted. The physical exertion may not be great, just a slight breath, but the lack of eyesight is definitely a sign of exhaustion of energy. Eminem is still very familiar with this. Sure enough, Xiaolang couldn't cast the spell with all his strength for too many times, but it's already a remarkable achievement. Water EV, Moon EV, and Ninetales have lost their combat effectiveness. Players from both sides are asked to replace their Pokémon. Dabby Bird has lost its fighting ability. The referee announced one after another. It can be seen from the order of announcement that the first 3 Pokémon lost their combat effectiveness together, and Dabby Bird, who collapsed from exhaustion, was the last one step later than the first 3. However, since both sides have only 1 Pokémon left, the sequence is meaningless. It just reflects the professionalism of the referee. The Little Wolf released a white sea lion at this time, and what appeared on the Beigia field was Lieb in the last move. Beigia's bet was made, and Lieb had the advantage in terms of attributes. More importantly, Xiaolang didn't cast any more spells after that, and just let White Sea Lion fight, so there was no suspense, and he was solved by Lieb. The White Sea Lion has lost its fighting capacity and the game is over. Player number 32 has 8 points and player number 33 has 6 points. The referee announced at this time. Eminem estimated that on the one hand, Xiaolang lacked energy and did not want to make things difficult for him in the qualifying stage. On the other hand, Xiaolang should also have other hidden magic. Otherwise, based on his performance just now, even if he forces himself, it may be difficult to defeat Beigia. Although it can be 1 for 1 in various ways, it is just a surprise, and once Beigia takes out the resistance attribute Ibrahimovic, he is likely to face the situation of not losing seconds, and it will collapse directly. More importantly, if this is the final tactic, if you want to restrain the Little Wolf, then you just need to bring it. Seems that when fighting Xiaolang, if you can use defend skills, you must use them. That's an awakening skill. I'm afraid I can't hold it. Defend it's enough to be able to resist damage to a large extent. Well, doesn't he lose on his own? PFFD. That's for Badges Ibrahimovic. If it's for you, I don't need to use up my strength. Okay, at least I analyzed it. That's right. Eminem also thought of Keep. At this time, Xiaolang does have some trainer thinking now. Shacho potion is the best proof point, directly using the effect of the tree fruit potion and linking it with his full spell casting. There was a wave of serial explosions point. If it is Eminem, he is still very confident. Under guard, even if Xiaolang casts the spell with all his strength, he cannot be pierced directly point. If you don't cast the spell with all your strength, even if you shake, hold, it won't do much damage. This is magic. It feels a bit fancy. Xiaolang muttered angrily. It is indeed fancy, but as expected, Badger is still stronger. Amu judged point, unless Xiaolang's hidden methods are much better than now. If he meets Badger in the official competition, his chances of winning are probably not higher than Eminem's point. After all, in the final analysis, wizard type trainers are just a kind of highly mysterious, but somewhat outdated trainers. They may be more prominent and convenient than ordinary trainers in some aspects, but they cannot be systematically better than ordinary trainers. Trainer, Badger is better than him, just better than him. Eminem no longer has to watch the next game, and today's game is basically over. When Eminem and Xiaolang left the field together, they found that Yuanzi had resurrected and was full of energy, waving to the two from the opposite side. How is it? There are only the last 2 games left tomorrow. Yuanzi asked Xiaolang nervously. Point. As for Eminem, the points are certainly safe. The top 8 is a bit difficult, but the top 16 should be no problem. Come with me tonight to study and figure out who I should challenge. If we enter the challenge, dang. The next chapter will be later. Chapter 335 Challenge. In the 2 rounds on the 29th, Eminem was not randomly assigned to Xiaolang, and Xiaolang was not randomly assigned to Badger again. All 3 of them had a perfect record of victory. Point. In the end, Badger ranked first in the points competition with a perfect score of 68 points. Xiaolang ranked second with 66 points, and Eminem ranked third with 62 points. Both of them only lost points on Badger. Among the people Eminem knew later, Xiaolang ranked fourth with 58 points. Xiaolang ranked 8th with 50 points, and Xiaolang ranked 11th with 46 points. After the game, Xiaolang, Yuanzi, and Xiaolang held the final tactical meeting. Before 8 o'clock in the evening, the 9 to 16th place would submit their challenge goals. The 11th place, the priority is quite high, then we can choose a weak one. How about the 8th place? It looks stupid. Yuanzi decisively pointed to Xiaolang's portrait on the illustrated book and persuaded Xiaolang kill cooked. No, I probably want to choose him for the 9th or 10th place. Let's change it. Xiaolang was a little tempted, but after thinking about it, she was conservative. Point. According to the rules, each ranking from 1 to 8 can be challenged at most twice, and those with higher rankings will be selected first. If there are 3 or more duplicates, they will be selected again in the next round. In the second round, the choice will be limited, not big anymore. Among the top 8, the one recognized as the weakest is Xiaolang, who won more than one game due to luck. Xiaolang thinks he will be popular. Point. In the end, Xiaolang and Yuanzi analyzed it for a while and decided to challenge the 5th place, a seeded player whom Eminem didn't know. Point. As for Eminem, he can only be challenged. Tomorrow's game should end before 12 o'clock, right? Yuanzi confirmed to Eminem and Xiaolang. Well, if nothing else happens. Xiaolang nodded. Point. As for Eminem, if nothing else goes wrong, there won't be any Eminem competition tomorrow. No one will challenge the top 3. Although the score difference is not big, in the hearts of the players, there is a deep gap between Eminem and Xiaolang, who is 4th behind. Point. The top 3 belong to the first level of strength and are obviously higher than other players. Then, don't forget to arrive at the Twin Towers at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. The driver and I will be waiting for you outside the arena. Yuanzi reminded. Point. Because it was a formal occasion, Yuanzi did not want to take a taxi there. Point. In addition, not only Eminem, Xiaolang and Xiaolang will also go. That Tokiwa Mio originally had something to do with Kagoro, and the two were seniors in college. Mio also welcomed Kagoro's daughter. As for Xiaolang, Sonoko mentioned that she was the daughter of the master of the Blazing Flame Pavilion, so Mio, who was unable to invite the master of the Blazing Flame Pavilion, happily extended an invitation to Xiaolang. Point. The adults are all going, so the 2 little brats will naturally follow. Sure enough, At 9 o'clock that night, the results of the registration challenge came out. The 5th place that Zyaksha challenged was also challenged by the 16th place player, and this 16th place, Eminem also has some impressions of Xiaoming from the One Hit Gym. Xiaoming has had bad luck in matching since he played against Eminem. Otherwise, he should have been ranked in the top 8. However, he ran into Xiaoming again in the last game and slipped to 16th place, almost missing out on the challenge. Moreover, when choosing an opponent, the one with the highest ranking goes first, but when it comes to a duel, the one with the lowest ranking goes first. In other words, according to the rules, Xiaoming will challenge the 5th place player tomorrow first, and then rest for an hour. The winner will then face off against Zyaksha. The winner will qualify for the official competition with the 5th place ranking point. As for the top 3, no one challenged. Badger, Xiaolang and Eminem had already announced their promotion in advance. What's also unexpected is that there is another player who advanced early, Xiaozi in 8th place. For the 9th and 10th places, they both chose their more restrained players instead of the 8th place. The two people's ideas are also very simple. There must be a lot of people to choose the 8th place. If you choose him, even if you win, there is a high probability that you will have to face Lian Chan, so it is not as good as a result. Many of the contestants after the 10th place had Zyaksha's concerns, and in the end, no one challenged Xiaozi. The other 4 contestants, each with 2 challengers. Early the next morning, Eminem and Zyaksha came to the venue together and found that Xiaozi was completely floating. Eminem: hahaha, I didn't expect that we all advanced directly. Actually, I still want to fight more players, hahaha. Xiaozi looked cheerful. It was as if everyone recognized his strength and no one challenged him. In addition, Eminem also saw Xiaoheo next to him at this time. As expected, people in this world recover from injuries very quickly. Xiaoheo's foot seems to be fine. How is the injury? Conan is very worried about you. Eminem looked concerned about Xiaoheo. This little injury. Xiaoheo looked disdainful. By the way, Conan is here too. If he wants to go to the toilet later, please accompany him. I don't necessarily have to wait outside for this guy to come out. Really, since I have qualified directly, why are you watching the game? By the way, are you dressed a little grandly today? Is there a live broadcast today? Eminem didn't quite hear the second half of Xiaoheo's words because it was almost time, and Eminem and Zyaksha entered the venue together as the 3rd player who was announced in advance. Eminem also attracted the attention of other players and even made envious sounds. Look, that slut. There's no game for him today, so why are you still dressed up? I'm most annoyed by people who pretend to beep. That's right, Eminem had to go to the Twin Towers with Yuanzi in the afternoon to represent Mom's classroom, so she was already wearing the clothes she bought 2 days ago. In contrast, although Zyaksha was also prepared to borrow Yuanzi's dress, she decided to change it after the game, otherwise it would be inconvenient to move around. Eminem also saw Badger, but he didn't see Xiaolang as expected. After advancing early, Xiaolang had no intention of coming today. Indeed, there was nothing that Eminem and Badgie wanted to see duel. Eminem mainly accompanied Zyaksha and took 5th place in the challenge. What a surprise. The 5th placed player in points was really clumsy in the points stage, but now he was forced out by Xiaoming, and the two of them had a fierce battle. In the end, although Xiaoming barely won, but one-hit skills require a very high concentration of Pokémon. Xiaoming, who was severely exhausted, could not fully recover until an hour later. Among the 6 Pokémon, 3 were not in the best condition, and 1 even did not use the one-hit skill anymore. Instead, he dueled with Misty normally, and was eliminated by Misty. In the end, Zyaksha also won the qualifying spot for the official competition. When the two came out, they found that Junsha's vehicle and ambulance were again present outside the venue. Where did Xiaoheo go? Xiaozi didn't find his companion again, but this time Xiaogang's illustrated book dialed. What? This is still the hospital from last time, right? Oh, I'll be here right away. Dong Dong. Dong Dong is so angry. I finished writing it at 2 o'clock. Xiaohei broke the cable of the USB dock. Sometimes the mouse doesn't work, sometimes the keyboard doesn't work, Sometimes the wireless network card doesn't work. The USB of the host computer doesn't work for a long time, and it doesn't work very much. It worked, and I finally managed to get it out. Chapter 336 Twin Towers. Because the challenge has ended, and the shortlisted information was broadcast in real time outside the arena, when Eminem and others came out, they also received a wave of applause, especially, great, Zion come on, Zion I saw a group of cheerleaders making noise on the side. It reminds Eminem of Arfeng from the Cuba team. Hey, those who didn't know better thought he was the first to qualify. Zyloksha couldn't help curling her lips when she saw this. Zyloksha, congratulations. Yuanzi and Zyalin immediately came up and pulled her up and down. After all, there was a lot of suspense before Zyloksha's promotion. In contrast, Eminem's promotion was known last night. Seeing this, Kagoro urged impatiently, really, why did you come out? Miss Mio has to wait impatiently. Dad. Zyalin glared at her father. Hearing this, Kagoro changed his words, but it just so happened that it was precisely because you came out late that my famous detective Kagoro happened to solve the mysterious case. Otherwise, the real murderer would have been at large. Ha ha ha. It's a pity that you didn't see it. To my wonderful reasoning process, Kagoro laughed loudly as he spoke, causing Zyalin beside her to hold her forehead. Fortunately, Kagoro didn't know how to solve the case at all. He just thought that the second personality came out and solved the case while he was sleeping, so he didn't say much about the process, so everyone didn't have to be bothered by him. Wait a minute, we have to change clothes first. Yuanzi has already chosen a place. There is actually a locker room in the battle venue. Yuanzi has already communicated that he can borrow it after the game. Seeing Conan, Eminem also asked about what happened just now. Only then did he know that Kagoro was here not long ago and solved another injury case. It seemed that the car hit the wall, but in fact, the driver was killed one step ahead of time. The police officer fainted and committed the crime. Well, Zio was behind the wall when he hit it. As an indirect victim, he went to the hospital again. At this time, Yuanzi and the three of them also came back after changing their clothes. At this time, Yuanzi, Zyalin, and Zyloksha were all dressed in gorgeous long skirts. Conan looked on with a crazy look until he found Zyoi standing aside, looking at him. While recording some reaction in his notebook, he immediately stopped. Can you tell what's different about the garden today? Zyolan saw that Eminem was also watching, so she asked specifically, well, except for the hairband, everything is different, right? Amu said and wiggled his nose. Sonoko, actually, the hairband has also been changed. Yuanzi said helplessly. At Kagoro's urging, everyone got in the car. At the same time, Sonoko rubbed a bunch of hair and thought to herself, is this hairstyle a little too inconspicuous? At the same time, Yuanzi saw Eminem carrying Zioai, who was not tall enough, under his armpits into the car, and his eyes lit up. Little Conan, do you want my brother to carry you up? Amu asked specifically. But Conan rolled his eyes at him and then jumped directly on. The Yuanzi family's business car was really tall. Soon, Eminem and his party came to the vicinity of the towering Twin Towers, or the Twin Towers. The driver of the Yuanzi family reminded, Miss, this is the best place to watch from a distance. The people who were talking now looked forward. Because you can see Bayan Mountain from the front. The buildings on both sides of this road are not high, which makes the Twin Towers appear taller and more majestic, as if they are going to split Bayan Mountain. Wow. Yuanzi, Zyalin, and Zyloksha all watched this scene quietly. When Eminem saw this scene, he suddenly remembered something. What's wrong? Yuanzi looked over doubtfully. Ahem, it's nothing. Of course it's impossible for Eminem to say like this. How can he have murderous intent? It's true that Eminem doesn't know much about the plot of Conan, but some of the famous scenes in the theater version that he's seen can still bring back Eminem's memories. For example, now, Eminem remembers, it seems that in one movie version, the murderer wanted to kill because his view of Mount Fuji was blocked. This of course. It is impossible to expect Eminem to remember the name of the murderer. He only vaguely remembers that he is a painter and the teacher of the mistress of the building. At this time, Eminem turned his head and looked behind him, but he did not find any high-rise buildings nearby that were blocked by the Twin Towers, so Eminem was not very sure. Soon I arrived at the downstairs of the Twin Towers and saw the Yuanzi family's business car. Immediately, a young female white-collar woman wearing all clothes trotted over at the door. "Miss Shinami, we meet again," Kagoro greeted after getting out of the car. "He has been here before. It seems that Mio asked him to investigate something." "Mr. Kagoro, we have been waiting for you for a long time," Shinami said politely. Then, when she saw 3 girls in long skirts coming out of the car, Shinami was stunned for a moment. Fortunately, Kagoro took the initiative to introduce them. Kainami was able to determine the identities of several people, and everyone also knew that Kainami was Miss Mio's secretary. After exchanging warm greetings, Shinami hurriedly ushered a few people in and took the observation elevator directly to the top floor of the 68th floor. Originally, Kagoro, who was a little too enthusiastic because of the presence of young women, turned blue in the observation elevator, but he still refused to ask for help. If he had said that he was afraid of heights, Shinami would not have taken everyone to this ride. At this time, Zinami's attention was focused on the children. 2 children, don't you feel it? Many children like the observation elevator very much. Do you feel that there is room for improvement? What an amazing elevator. I was speechless just now. Conan quickly made up for it. At this time, Eminem said from the side, "ZioAI is a very introverted child. I'm sorry, Conan." Sure enough, it is more convenient to have someone to cover you. Arriving on the top floor, here is a spacious hall that seems to have not been fully decorated yet. This is also the venue for the official ribbon cutting on September 4th. This is Miss Yuanzi and Xiaoxia and Xiaolan, right? Seeing you makes me feel old. I saw a woman who was dressed maturely and somewhat sexy walking over. "Aunt Mio, my father and mother asked me to apologize on my behalf. There are really urgent matters in the group these days." Sinoko's apology had just been said in 4 words, and Mio's face was already stiff. At the same time, Eminem discovered that Conan on the other side had found an old man in a white coat who looked like his hair and beard were all white. Well, at least the hair was white. "Drive. Agasa. Shinichi, you're here too." Conan also often played with Dr. Ali. When he greeted Dr. Ali, Xiaolan would not be surprised, but Dr. Ali Shinichi made Conan's hair suddenly stand up. Shinichi. Xiaolan looked over doubtfully. Ahem. Yes, Shinichi asked me to tell Conan that the last game was very interesting. Ha ha ha. Dr. Agasa started talking nonsense. Chapter 337 Failure. Dr. Ali, 52 years old. But his ambition lies not in his age. Just look at his hairstyle, hair color, and beard. You can tell he is a strong person. Moreover, Dr. Ali, his surname is really Ali and his first name is Doctor, and he has indeed obtained the title of doctor in the fields of mechanical invention and software programming that he is good at. Generally speaking, ordinary doctors are still called by their first names, such as Drive Xinghu. In order to further express respect, they are called by their surnames, such as Drive Omu. But Dr. Ali is different. After he became a real doctor, he started to be called Dr. Ali. After all, Doctor was too awkward. Even before he became doctor, he was also called doctor at this time. Dr. Ali also appeared in the twin buildings as a guest. As an insider, Dr. Ali just accidentally called Shinichi by name. It goes without saying that it attracted Xiaolan's attention, but Conan finally made it back. After going around the ghost gate for a while, Conan was currently rolling his eyes at the confused Dr. Ali. However, Eminem noticed that there was another person who seemed to have an instinctive reaction to the name Shinichi. This person did not recognize Eminem. He was a man with a big chin and wearing glasses. The muscular man. There was no need for Eminem to take the initiative to test. The other party had already walked over at this time. "Miss Yuanzi, Mr. Amu, is this your first time here today? You can try this." Big Chin took the initiative to come over and introduced to Yuanzi and Amu what seemed to be a game warehouse nearby. If he hadn't seen the Twin Towers before, maybe Eminem would have thought of the theater version of traveling to Baker Street more than 100 years ago. Jia Ming, you are really proud of this work. Miu smiled slightly at this time and then said with emotion, hahaha, yes. I made everyone laugh. Jia Ming smiled honestly at this time. This? Kagoro pouted at the side. What is this for? Yuanzi became curious when he saw this. This is a future prediction machine. It's not a fortune telling thing. It uses body data to predict a person's future appearance. After going in and scanning, you can print out a photo of what you will look like 10 years from now. Jia Ming said in a guiding light introduced point at this time. Sonoko covered her mouth and whispered to Eminem, Uncle Kagoro must have seen a bad old man, so he resisted like this. Eminem looked at Kagoro and smiled too, but then his attention was focused on this Jia Ming. Eminem had an impression of this machine. As for Jiming, Eminem had some guesses, but he didn't know if the correspondence was correct, so he took the initiative to talk. Mr. Jia Ming is the developer of this machine. Is he considered an expert in software development? Amu asked proactively. No. Dr. Ali is here. How dare I call myself an expert? Jia Ming scratched his head repeatedly. Well, just by looking at the hairstyle, you can tell that Dr. Ali is definitely the more expert in this area. But Jia Ming did not deny that he was indeed a software developer. Now Eminem is a little more certain. He is the software engineer who is one of the deceased in the play, right? And this guy's identity is not as simple as it seems. He is also a member of the Black organization. Like Shirley, he is a purely technical member, but not as core as Shirley Point in the movie version. He was silenced by Jin because he wanted to leave the organization. However, his death was mixed up with the serial killings of the old mountain watcher, so it was not noticed by the police. Point originally, when watching the drama, Eminem didn't feel anything, but now looking at Jia Ming's reaction, Eminem had some doubts as to whether he was deliberately leading everyone to try this project, and the purpose was to test Conan. You can try it then. Yuanzi's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he sat down directly. Eminem wanted to delay it a little, but he didn't have time. Not long after Yuanzi sat in, photos were printed out, but, Jia Ming was also stunned when he saw the printed photo. It was completely black. Is there something wrong? Dr. Ali, as a senior, came over to help take a look. Zia, do you want to give it a try? Yuanzi was disappointed and greeted Zialan and Zia because there were multiple seats. Eminem thought about it and took the initiative to sit on it to see what was wrong with this thing. After the machine started running, the mask came down and blocked Eminem's face. Then Eminem saw "please wait" on a screen in front of him. During this period, Eminem instinctively felt that his body was being spied on in some way. Suddenly, Eminem seemed to hear a familiar voice. Eminem's expression changed at this moment, and he felt as if he had just heard the cry of Celebi. Without waiting for Eminem to take a closer look, the baffle on the head has been opened. It seems that the operation has been completed, but on the other side Jia Ming is even more confused. Strange. This machine is normal. Jia Ming discovered at this time that only Zialan's machine printed photos normally, and the prediction results of Eminem and Zia were also black. Seeing that Zialan's prediction was working out, Conan also moved forward curiously, and then he looked like a fool. After reading it, Yuanzi deliberately teased, "It will make people very angry when I think that such a beautiful woman will be with that Shinichi in the future." Yuanzi. Zialan was teased so much that she felt embarrassed, but if this machine is easy to use, I want to give it a try. Yuanzi said, and tried it again with Zialan's machine just now, and the result, it's dark again. This one is broken too? Yuanzi said regretfully. No, wait. Zialan, can you please try the machine over there again? Jia Ming said at this time. Eminem quickly guessed the problem and took the initiative to try again, and finally proved it's not a matter of which machine is easy to use and which machine is not easy to use, but that Amu, Zia, and Yuanzi cannot be predicted, and Zialan can use whichever one she wants. Drive. Ali also tried again. Although he couldn't see any change, he did print out the photo. Well, let alone 62 years old. Eminem thinks Dr. Ali's appearance is more than enough for 72 years old. Strange. This has never happened before. By the way, kids, you can give it a try. Jiaming was confused and wanted Conan and Zio AI, mainly because he wanted Conan to give it a try point, but then Eminem interrupted. No, since there may be a malfunction, it's better not to let children try it out yet. Jiaming was stunned when he heard this. He really couldn't refute this reason. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338 Hired? Jiaming, have you had enough? Although Mio was still smiling, her tone became dangerous. Jiaming immediately restrained himself after hearing this. Mio was always a strong person. Normally, Jiaming was highly regarded by her because of her good skills, so even if she had a weird personality sometimes, she could tolerate it. But now Jiaming keeps showing off his timidity in front of important guests. This makes Mio intolerable. It's already broken down. Why don't you let the customer try it? When Jiaming saw this, he had no choice but to give up. At the same time, Eminem noticed that he had always had a sense of urgency and seemed to be worried about something. Seeing the tense situation, Kagoro immediately changed the subject and said, hahaha, it's really a great location to see Mount Bayan from here. At this moment, Eminem wanted to see that this building did not block the view of Bayan Mountain from other high-rise buildings, but at this moment, a bald middle-aged man came in from the door on the side of the corridor smelling of alcohol. He happened to bump into Kagoro. Not only did he not apologize, he looked at him carefully and said, I seem to where have I seen you? You are that some sleepy Kagoro, right? Hehe, hiccup, because of the smell of alcohol on this man's body. Yuanzi immediately took a step back. This drunken uncle was looking at Mio and Sonoko and the others with a leering look at this moment, which made him feel particularly uncomfortable. It's the sleeping Kagoro. Kagoro said and straightened out his clothes, which were being pulled by the other party, with the same look of disgust on his face. Ah, I know you too. Who are you? Eminem? Hiccup. Speaking of which, your teacher Jumu is also my cousin. The bald man pointed at Eminem again and said. Eminem couldn't help but grin when he heard this. It was really embarrassing to know such a person. Oh, I'm sorry. I only heard the teacher mention Dr. Omu. Eminem said directly, with disdain evident in his words. HMM. Then listen up. I'm Omu Yansang, a member of the Quartz Alliance. Yansang looked like he was showing off. Oh, hello, Uncle Yansang. Eminem responded unenthusiastically, omitting his last name. This is the first time that Eminem heard someone specifically add their last name when introducing themselves, because in this world, surnames are generally honorific names for people with a certain prestige. So when introducing yourself, you generally do not emphasize your surname. Butomu Iwamatsu's reaction is not surprising. Amu estimates that it's probably because he has nothing else to show off except his surname. Right. At this moment, a man who looked like a secretary came close to him and whispered to Iwamatsu, Congressman Omu, the cheerleading team hired by Master Zayomeo is urging payment. Slim. Shady. Who did you hire to co-author? Note 1. Thinking about Ziomao's character, Eminem suspected that this relative had harmed him. No wonder after watching Journey, Ziomao quickly became normal after leaving the Quartz Alliance and traveling to various places. Zio Ma is yours? Eminem asked directly. At this time Yansang's movement suddenly froze, and then he glared at Eminem. Your ears are really good, and you heard it right away, and you actually jumped in directly. At this moment, when Ko and Ko arrived, Zio Ma also came directly from the elevator to the 68th floor. Uncle, huh? Why are you here too? Zio Ma said and looked at Eminem. As for the uncle, he just ignored it. Where are your cheerleading squad? Eminem asked directly. Huh? Zio Ma was stunned when he heard this. Is that a greeting? Apparently, he didn't even know that they were hired. Ahem. Xiaomao, my uncle helped you find the armored rhinoceros limited riding suit you wanted before. Yansong quickly interrupted the exchange between Amu and Xiaomao, and at the same time, turned to glare at Amu. Eminem smiled at him, but didn't insist on exposing it. At this moment, the observation elevator rang again. After the door opened, Miss Kainami ushered in an old man. How could it be such a coincidence? Eminem discovered that he also knew this person, master of Feng Shui Hall. Amu and Xiaoxia hurriedly stepped forward to say hello. Huh, yeah. When Feng Shui saw the two of them, he nodded deeply as a response. The owner of Feng Shui Pavilion doesn't feel cold, but rather socially afraid, and it's not a shy type of fearful person. It's the kind of I'm just a fearful person, get out of here kind of person. The last time the owner of the Bakuan Pavilion used his place for bathing and eating, he looked exactly like the owner. It could be said to be taking advantage of his social fear. Brother Feng Shui didn't say no. That means you agree, right, teacher? Kisaragi, you are here. As the host, Mio walked over enthusiastically. Seeing Sanako's confused expression, Chinami explained in a low voice, the president is on the painting path, and is a student of teacher Kisaragi, Ruayu. Feng Shui, as a trainer, is far from being called a surname, but in the art of painting, he is undoubtedly a world-class master. Painter. Eminem suddenly reacted. President. Mio, do you have any other painting teachers? Amu asked specifically at this time. No. Xiaomi was stunned when she heard this and didn't understand why Eminem asked this. On the other side, the master of Feng Shui Hall just nodded to the student and then said seriously, what I told you before. At this time, Eminem glanced at the owner of Feng Shui Pavilion a few more times. Finally, he looked around at the floor-to-ceiling windows. Soon after, Eminem locked the location of Feng Shui Gym, but there are no twin towers here, and you can't see Beiyin Mountain from your location, right? After all, Feng Shui Gym is not a high-rise building, and it is not on the same line as the Twin Towers and Beiyin Mountain. Mio, I want to stay at the Twin Hotel today, is that okay? Iwamatsu said carelessly at this time. Kisaragi-sensei, wait a moment. Mio interrupted the teacher and came over to deal with Iwamatsu. Well, I'm sorry, the hotel is not open yet. Okay. I'll arrange a room on the 67th floor, although, in theory it is not yet open for business, and it is against the rules for people to move in, but Councilman Iwamatsu has indeed contributed a lot to the construction approval of the Twin Towers, so Mio cannot refuse. However, neither of them noticed that the master of Feng Shui Pavilion was staring at them. Seeing this, after thinking about it, Amu came closer and hugged Yansong's neck. Before the latter could struggle, Amu whispered to Yansong, member Yansong, you don't want Xiaomao to know that his cheerleaders are hired, right? Iwamatsu, dang. According to the setting of Sutotsu Ayoshi's original novel, Xiaomao's cheerleaders were indeed hired by his father from the town next door. Chapter 339 Blind Spot. HMPH. Mio, I'm leaving. Feng Shui walked away after receiving a slight cold reception, looking very difficult to get along with. Teacher. Kisaragi, I'm sorry. Chinami, please send it off for me. Mio said quickly. At this time, Eminem hugged Representative Iwasatsu's neck and communicated with him for a while. Then Yansong said with a somewhat ugly face, just give up on this idea. Who do you think you are, Slim? Shady? Amu, what's wrong? Yuanzi also came over at this time, looking at Yansong with dissatisfaction on his face. Although she didn't know what Eminem said, Yuanzi believed it must be the problem of this wretched uncle. Nothing, just a small matter. Eminem took the initiative to suppress the dispute, but shook his head regretfully. Originally, Eminem wanted to save him because he was a relative of teacher Jumu, or even, probably Dr. Romu's son, or at least his nephew. However, what Eminem didn't expect was that he had just mentioned Silver Mountain and know how to share, and before he could give any further hints, this guy looked very angry. Originally, Eminem thought it wouldn't be a big deal. Anyway, the upper floors of the Twin Towers were originally hotels, so why not just give a room to the owner of Feng Shui Hotel? After Iwamatsu finished speaking, he turned around and left. Of course, he didn't forget to call Xiaomao. Mio hurriedly walked him to the door, then came over and apologized. Sorry, Representative Iwamatsu is a little drunk. It's nothing. Maybe it's me. Meng language. Eminem responded casually. What Eminem cares about most is Harajaming. As for Counselor Iwamatsu and others, if he insists on seeking death, he can't force himself to stop him. At most, he can just report it to Mr. Jumu later, and this Jaming is related to the Dark Organization. Afterwards, Mio specially hosted a banquet for Dr. Agasa, Kagoro, and Eminem's group in the hotel on the other side of the Twin Towers. There was also an air corridor connecting the two buildings. This surprised Eminem. Originally, it was said to be a small reception, and Eminem thought there would be more guests. Didn't expect they were all acquaintances, but this is not like a coincidence. It should be that Mio specially arranged for Eminem, or someone whom Sonoko knew to be in the game. This kind of banquet should be held every day these days. As for that Representative Iwamatsu, at this time, Eminem also knew that he should not be considered a guest, but Mio's ally. When the job and family planned the activities in Quartz City, Councilman Iwamatsu was the one who supported it in terms of the alliance. It was precisely because of this that, although Iwamatsu wanted to check into a hotel that was not open in advance, which was against the rules, Mio still couldn't refuse. Shinami and Jaming were also at the table. During this period, Jaming had been discussing programming issues with Dr. Agasa. This should be the task Mio gave him, but after Eminem carefully observed it, he found that he would occasionally talk to Conan specifically. The reason is to collect suggestions for a children's game that I want to develop. The programming of this world is still very important, even somewhat mysterious, because Polygon was born from programming. Porygon was born only in the Alliance era, and it is also the only certified Pokémon created by humans in name. It is said that human creation is not the only one in Pokémon. For example, Clay Giant and Psychic Clay Doll are also created by ancient people in folklore and mainstream sayings, but it is controversial. Only Polygon is undisputed, and this kind of Pokémon is very strange. It is not a ghost type, and has a physical body, but it can be turned into data. It was created not by mechanics or biology, but programming. Brother, Eminem, I want to go to the toilet. Conan finally couldn't help, but said to Eminem. Xiaolan was used to it, so she just thanked her. It's troublesome again. Eminem, what? A troublesome brat? Kagoro complained at the side. Xiaoai looked at him and said, I'll go too. I'll take you there. Zinami stood up at this time. No, I saw the bathroom when I came here. Amu pressed her shoulders from behind and asked her to sit back. Otherwise, out of etiquette, she would definitely not give up. If he is a wretched man like Representative Iwamatsu, then this is undoubtedly an advantage, but for an 18-year-old young man like Eminem, not only is he good looking, but he also has a unique and believable temperament, which is completely there is no such feeling. Well, Eminem also discovered that the moon path adds good looks, but the mother path also adds an unspecified temperament, motherly temperament. It's just that the bonus effect on favorability is definitely not as obvious as the increased appearance stated by Moon. I saw Eminem leading the two children to the bathroom. Amu, that Jaming seems to be testing me. Conan had already discovered this at this time. Did you just find out? He had reacted to Dr. Leixi before. Eminem said matter-of-factly. What? Conan's pupils suddenly shook when he heard this, and then he quickly asked, why didn't you tell me earlier? I thought you had discovered it a long time ago. Great detective. Eminem rolled his eyes. Conan had nothing to say. If it were normal times, he should indeed have discovered it, but at that time, all his attention was on Xiaolan, so how could he care about others? So, there is probably something wrong with that prediction machine. Conan said and looked at Xiaoai. Xiaoai shrugged and said, don't look at me, it must have nothing to do with evolution. There are specialties in the art industry, and Xiaoai doesn't understand the principle of the machine. I can probably guess that it should be that it stole or simulated some of the power of Celebi in some way. This is also a guess by Eminem. Celebi, I see, but that's right. Conan was surprised, then confused, and finally showed relief. Eminem didn't think too much. He heard the sound of she, and the machine was ineffective on him. It was easy to think that it was the influence of Celebi Point, but why Xiaoxia and Yuanzi didn't get the photos, but Xiaolan was not affected. Eminem didn't know. Conan already had some vague guesses. If the machine can truly predict the future appearance from the perspective of time, it cannot predict Eminem. This is normal. After all, he is related to Celebi, and may have the aura of Celebi on him. Will interfere with the operation of this machine. As for Sonoko and Xiaoxia, Conan speculates that this means that their future appearance may be affected by Eminem, not to mention anything else. Hairstyle, dressing style, etc., in addition to your own preferences, will be affected by the preferences of the people you care about. Once the blind spot of Eminem is involved as a variable, the machine will of course be affected. It doesn't work anymore. Chapter 340 Don't know how to share. A. Influenced by my preferences? Eminem couldn't help being stunned when he heard Conan's guess, but then he nodded and said, yeah, that's right, this is quite normal. If people around you make suggestions about clothing, hairstyle, etc., wouldn't they be easily affected? Then, why didn't Xiaolan have any influence? Amu wondered. When Conan heard this, he gave him a fierce look. Nonsense. Of course Xiaolan will not be affected by you. I already like her current hairstyle. If Xiaolan was really in a dark mood, Conan would have started to express jealousy a long time ago, and even go to the toilet. At this time, Eminem shook his head. In short, this machine should be affected by Eminem, so it started to malfunction. It was just, people who were close enough to him would be chained. At this time Eminem talked about more important things. What? You suspect that he is a dark organization? Conan looked at Eminem in surprise. Then when Conan looked at Xiaoai again, the latter nodded and said, of course I don't know him, but, among the researchers in the organization, in addition to experts in evolution, they have the most experts in programming. This is very similar to the Dark Organization in Conan. The Dark Organization in Conan, on the researcher side, focuses on biology and software programming. In this world, the evolution of Pokémon has replaced biology, but programming is still programming. But I don't have the same feeling towards him as I do towards gin and vodka. Conan confirmed, yes, even members of the Dark Organization should only be researchers. Xiaoai also added, this feeling sounds mysterious, but it can also be understood as a special ability, similar to Heart of Grass and Heart of Water. Eminem estimates that what Conan is sensitive to is the murderous aura in gin and vodka, or a special aura produced by killing too many of the same kind, or a magnetic field. Even all the core members who did the dirty work were at the level of murderers before passing the assessment. So Conan could basically feel it. Conan already has an indissoluble bond with ghost type Pokémon, so it makes sense that he would be sensitive to this kind of aura. However, if it is a researcher like Shirley, whether he is a peripheral member or a core member, Conan will not have any obvious feelings. Jiaming is obviously a researcher who has never killed a chicken. It is impossible to judge such organization members by relying on mysterious inductions. I'll look for an opportunity later and put a tracking bug on him. Conan was very confident in the concealment of the tracking bug invented by Dr. Ali. Mainly because wireless signals in this world are too easy to be interfered with and discovered, so eavesdroppers are generally not thought of. No. Are you crazy? If he is really from the organization, your bug will only expose yourself. Xiaoai stopped him immediately. No. Conan didn't seem to listen at all. Eminem said at this time, I also suggest you don't. Conan looked at Eminem in confusion. In his impression, Eminem should be very reckless. That kind of bug is not protected against Polygon. Although I don't know what Pokémon that Jiaming has, but is it normal for a programmer to have Polygon? Eminem emphasized. Conan immediately stopped talking after hearing this. That's right. Porygon family is one of the only Pokémon that can detect Dr. Agasa's bug signal. In addition, Dr. Ali is also a super programmer, and Eminem suspects that the wireless signal of this eavesdropper is also related to some properties of Polygon in principle. Indeed, Dr. Ali's assistant Pokémon include a Polygon type 2. After listening to Eminem's words, Conan calmed down completely. It is true that, in order to track down the dark organization, he can accept a certain amount of risk, but if Jiaming is likely to have a polygon, then this risk exceeds expectations. Just when Conan frowned and was in trouble, Eminem said confidently, "Don't worry, I have a way." Conan looked at Amu in surprise. Just now he thought that Amu didn't want to pursue this clue. It doesn't matter if the bug is not easy to use. We can use a simpler method. Amu said slowly. Conan hadn't reacted yet, but Zio AI had already started covering her face. She probably guessed what Eminem was going to say. Since we can't use bugs to track him, then wouldn't it be better if I track him directly? Eminem said seriously. Conan, good guy. If this is discovered, even anti-tracking will be saved. No. What's the use of following him? Unless other members of the organization will be looking for him in the next 2 days. There's nothing you can do, right? Conan shook his head matter-of-factly. Indeed, if you install a location bug, you can monitor his activities, but if you follow him, you can only follow him downstairs at his house. You can't hide in his closet, right? And if he just follows him downstairs, what's the use? Unless other members of the organization come to find him, you can't hear him contacting members of the organization. Have you been waiting in vain? He heard Zanai today. If he reports, there will probably be important people to contact him, right? Eminem could only explain this. You can't say that you guess Jin should come and kill him in the next 2 days, right? Conan felt that Eminem's reasoning was in line with his usual characteristics. Of course, you don't have to come. If I were you, I would pay attention to that Iwamatsu. Eminem emphasized after seeing Conan's reaction. By the way, what did you say to him before? Conan was also very confused about this matter. I just told him not to be so stingy and know how to share about Bayin Mountain. Well, on the way we came, wasn't Bayin Mountain blocked by the Twin Towers? So I suggested that the viewing platform be open for free in the future. Eminem explained forcefully. The first half of the sentence was indeed Eminem's exact words, but when he said this, Representative Iwamatsu already looked very indignant. Conan also looked at Eminem in confusion, feeling that his words seemed a bit strange in logic, and with this level of understanding, when Conan and Eminem returned to the banquet, they also noticed keenly that when Mio was talking to Sonoko, she seemed to be bringing the topic to something about Silver Mountain, but Sonoko she didn't know anything at all, and Mio didn't know anything, which made the topic unable to proceed. After the banquet, Eminem originally wanted to find an excuse to separate from Sonoko and others, so that he could go to Jami, but unexpectedly, Mio directly invited everyone to stay at the Twins Hotel in advance. Chapter 341 Talent. Perhaps because Iwamatsu had already moved in, Mio no longer paid so much attention and directly invited Sonoko and others to move in as well. Although the Sonoko family also has a hotel in Quartz City, it seems good to stay in a new hotel. When Eminem saw that Jiaming would also stay, he naturally secretly encouraged everyone to stay. And they are all arranged on the 67th floor, which is the highest floor of the building. The Twin Towers have an asymmetrical design on both sides. The other side is the 68th floor. On the hotel side, the building reaches the 67th floor, but there is a dome on the roof, where you can enjoy the scenery and hold performances. Can also be opened as an open-air viewing platform. Eminem specially chose a room next to Jiaming. Unfortunately, that guy Iwamatsu was yelling, and didn't want anyone to disturb him. So he was the only one living on the other side. And Eminem estimated that in this case, whether Jiaming took the initiative to see Jin or Jin took the initiative to silence Jiaming, he would not come to the hotel. Another common thing, since they were staying in a hotel, Conan and Zio AI exchanged guardians. Zio AI lived with Zio Lan, and Conan lived with Eminem. You unhappy? Brother Eminem can also take a bath with you. Eminem asked, rubbing Conan's head specifically. No. I like Brother Eminem the most. Conan wanted to give him a kick. Xiaolan was right behind him, but as soon as he entered the room, Eminem threw himself on the bed and operated the illustrated book. Conan saw this and asked curiously, are you looking at the information about the rookie competition? No, I'm complaining to teacher Jumu. I know who taught Xiaomeo bad. Conan Matsu. I understand, you compete well, and if you get third in the official competition, you will be the worst student I have ever taught. The message replied by teacher Jumu came over. Eminem thought for a while, and made a come on, keep going emoji. Eminem just told teacher Jumu about the Xiaomao cheerleading team. It's not that there is anything wrong with hiring cheerleaders per se, but the problem that Dr. Romu has been having a headache about. Grandson doesn't learn well. Eminem found the answer, although Damu Yansang is also named Damu. He obviously has the kind of temperament that is good at maneuvering. Being able to become a member of the alliance is entirely due to Damu, and has nothing to do with Iwamatsu. However, he himself has a beep number in his heart, so he pleases Xiaomao even more. Currently, it seems that Xiaomao is the future of the Omi family in terms of trainers. It was just because Eminem and Dr. Romu were not as familiar with each other as Xiaozi, so it was not easy to talk to Dr. Romu directly about this matter, so he told his teacher that, although Jumu and Omu were distant relatives, they had a very close relationship. Then Iwamatsu's caste is Damu, but he is a good for nothing on the inside, so he is much closer. In fact, you can also go through Grandma Rexy, but, after all, teacher Jumu and Damu can be considered a family, and Eminem still doesn't want to expose this family scandal to them. This room is quite soundproofed, Conan said after knocking on the wall and putting his ear against it. You already laying the groundwork for someone to kneel down. The bigger feature is probably this. Eminem looked at the entire floor-to-ceiling window at this time, and at this time, the entire night view of Quartz City was almost unobstructed. Conan just rolled his eyes at Eminem's sarcasm. Then there was a knock on the door. Amu, is it convenient? Yuanzi's voice came in. Amu heard the sound and went to open the door, only to see Yuanzi, who had changed into casual clothes, coming in with a puzzled look on his face. What's wrong? Amu couldn't help but wonder when he saw her expression. I don't know what's wrong. Mom just called me and asked me if I found anything. It seems that Aunt Mio called Dad and made concessions on some cooperation. Sonoko also confused about this. Eminem also looked confused. Judging from this, Mio should have called Aunt Tomoko after the banquet. After all, Sonoko was just the representative, and the real person in charge was Shirao. And Mio's main purpose in contacting Shirao this time is to make a profit. There were hints in Shirao's words, hoping that the Suzuki family would not interfere, or rather not get involved in anything. Shilang is an honest person and doesn't know what happened. Since he doesn't know what's going on, then he will take all the benefits and say a few polite words afterwards. It is said that for the future projects of Mom's classroom, raw materials will be obtained from the Tokiwa family, and there will be a considerable discount. Could it be that you feel my aura of dominance? This thought only flashed in Eminem's mind for a moment and then passed. Eminem's aura is very easygoing and usually just gives people the feeling of a kind old mother. It's just that Mio was doing well. Why did she suddenly give up her profits? Aunt Tomoko obviously didn't understand either. She just had a vague guess, so she called Sonoko too. Yuanzi also had no idea. Mom asked me if I had discovered anything. After I said I didn't know, she asked me to ask you again. Yuanzi looked at Eminem curiously. But Eminem looked like I don't know either at this moment. Brother Eminem, could it be that what you and Iwamatsu said caused Aunt Mio and the others to misunderstand something? Conan reminded from the side at this time. Eminem was stunned when he heard this and instinctively wanted to refute, but after thinking about it carefully, maybe it was really like this. Share, Silver, Mountain, Eminem's words originally didn't have any complicated implications, but now think about it, the situation in this world is different from that in Conan. Maybe, did the Tokiwa family discover some secret in Bayan Mountain? Amu guessed. And Eminem still hasn't said half a sentence. The master of Feng Shui Hall should also know this secret, and he cares about it very much, and doesn't want others to get involved. At the same time, in Rainbow City in the Suzuki family's mansion, Tomoko was walking around in her spacious bedroom in her pajamas, seemingly thinking about something. Shilang was listening to soothing classical music at this time and said, "Don't think so much, I guess it should be because Sonoko is also very talented." She can make collaborators and opponents inexplicably give up their own profits. This is like me. Hahaha Tomoko, too. This kind of speculation. Tomoko naturally just rolled her eyes. Is that your talent? Isn't it because I have already fought against my opponent and you didn't notice it? Huh? Tomoko suddenly reacted. Point could it be? It's Eminem. I didn't realize before that Eminem looks so much like me, but that's okay. Tomoko murmured. Chapter 342 missing. Dong dong dong. Dong dong dong. August 31st. No games early in the morning. Eminem was awakened by a knock on the door. No, a banging on the door. Come on. Come on. Eminem was also wondering why the waiter at the Twin Hotel was so hasty. Point as a result, when I opened the door, I saw Yumi. Yumi. Eminem was stunned when he saw this. At this time, Yumi was wearing a standard uniform. Yumi first breathed a sigh of relief and then said angrily, "What are you doing? You're sleeping like this. What's wrong?" Eminem also realized at this time that something must have happened. And after Eminem woke up a little now, he felt a headache. Ordinarily, given the quality of his sleep, this shouldn't be the case. In addition, the room opposite had been opened, and some voices came from inside, which made Amu know that Yuanzi, Zyaksha and the others had woken up earlier than him. Congressman Iwamatsu, who lives on the same floor as you, is missing. Yumi did not hide it. At the same time, other Junsha finally knocked on the door next door. Seeing that Jiaming could still get up and open the door, Eminem breathed a sigh of relief. I don't seem to be right. Wait a moment, I'm going to wake up Conan. Conan, who had not yet woken up, also called out. Sure enough, he was also sleeping deeply. After Conan woke up, Eminem took him with him to Yansang's room to have a look. Because of Yumi, no one stopped Eminem, the related person, from running around. When he came to the door, Eminem took a look inside and understood why such a big man would make everyone nervous. Because of his disappearance, there was a big hole in the floor to ceiling window, and it looked like it had been attacked. It can indeed be seen at a glance that this is not a spontaneous departure. Moreover, there were circled outlines on the ground. When Eminem saw this, he was puzzled. This is Iwamatsu's Pokémon was found unconscious in the room after losing a battle, and it was just sent to the Pokémon Center for treatment. Yumi explained. In addition, Eminem saw that Officer Medjur was also present, and Kagoro seemed to have woken up first and was talking loudly. Huh? Uncle Kagoro, you're so awesome, you've actually woken up. Conan asked while being cute. Officer Medjur said without giving any face at this time. No, Kagoro and President Mio were drinking in the bar downstairs last night and ended up falling asleep there. It is basically certain that, except for Kagoro and President Mio, sir, everyone else on this floor was hypnotized last night. Whether it was the effect of powder type or psychic type has yet to be analyzed. I see. Eminem and Conan suddenly understood, and Eminem said at this time, "It's mental hypnosis. I can't be mistaken, officer." Mimu was stunned when he heard this, and then nodded tentatively. After all, Amu is a grass type trainer, so it is normal for him to detect whether there is a pollen effect. In fact, Eminem does not use this judgment, but just now, Eminem was already mentally complaining about Kaoparis. It can simply use some auxiliary skills on Eminem. The reason why it didn't make Eminem immune to hypnosis or wake up Eminem is because it didn't notice it. Leoka, I hope you can understand. People will die when they are killed. This is the law of nature. Eminem said in a calm tone. Don't worry, I will feel it before I die. Leoka vaguely communicated with Eminem. This still reminds Eminem that for his own safety, he still has to be careful. Kaoparis is not reliable. After all, it takes up more than half of the day's sleep time, and then spends less than half of it sticking its butt out and looking at it. Plants grow and notice. Eminem has very little time. Well, Eminem can understand. Leoka probably wants to say that at least it can feel the crisis that will really lead to Eminem's death, but Eminem doesn't want to test whether its feeling or reaction is accurate. Hurry or not. In other words, the murderer, no, the prisoner is from outside? Eminem made a self-certifying voice at this time. No, it cannot be ruled out that the prisoner may have disguised himself as an outside prisoner and then deliberately hypnotized himself to blend in with you. Mew Mew said cautiously, but I have a competition tomorrow, so I won't submit Pokémon records. Amu said openly. Conan glanced at him from the sidelines. Why do you make yourself so suspicious every time? That's not necessary. Mew Mew looked like he had no suspicion at this time. Kagoro said from the side. Although Senator Iwamatsu, is not good at training Pokémon, 2 of the Pokémon left by his father still protect his safety. Even without a trainer, they all have king level combat power. Eminem looked at the 2 silhouettes in the room at this time. 2 king level Pokémon were released, but they still fainted after losing the battle. The room was just a little messy and the building was not demolished. The prisoner's strength basically excludes young people like Eminem, and from this, Eminem also knew that Iwamatsu was probably not Dr. Roki's son, but just his nephew. Then as long as you wake up those 2 Pokémon and communicate with each other, you will know who the culprit is, right? Eminem said and looked at Yumi. Eminem can do this, and it shouldn't be difficult for the Junsha clan, maybe. But I think that, if I were a criminal, although I didn't kill the Pokémon that fainted after losing the battle, I must have taken confidentiality measures, such as repeated hypnosis, etc. The probability of being asked directly is not high. Big. Yumi was not so optimistic. Who are the suspects? Eminem asked naturally. This Mimu was about to instruct Eminem to be well prepared for your fart competition. Who knew that Yumi was completely bald? Considering that most people don't know that Representative Iwamatsu lives here. In addition to Dr. Agasa, Detective Kagoro, President Mio, and Programmer Jami who live in the hotel here, there are also the owner of the Minasu gym who came to visit yesterday. Well, this is because Councilman Iwamatsu brought those 2 Pokémon. Uncle Kagoro can defeat those 2 king level Pokémon? Amu said in surprise. Hey, kid, what's that look in your eyes? Kagoro asked angrily. Well, after all, it is a king level Pokémon without a trainer. It is actually worse than the wild king level Pokémon. And when considering the scope of the offender based on strength, it must be wider. Yumi emphasized. Generally speaking, Pokémon with a trainer are stronger than wild Pokémon of the same level. The specific strength depends on the ability of the trainer. However, the combat effectiveness of trained Pokémon without a trainer is actually weaker than that of wild Pokémon of the same level. Uncle Jarming, can you do that too? Conan asked tentatively at this time. I'm definitely not an opponent head on, but considering that Garmin has a Porygon, a sneak attack will be very advantageous. Yumi's words made Conan break into a cold sweat. Fortunately, he was not bugged. Chapter 343 Tracking. Hello. Oh, okay. Received. You guys should come back first. Yumi answered the phone and gave the order. Is it the leader of Fengshu Pavilion? Amu asked after hesitating. Yumi did not hide anything. Well, there is no real alibi from the owner of the Hosu Hall, but there is no adverse evidence. These people are only slightly more suspicious, and they are not necessarily among them. They are far from the standards that can be arrested. I still hope I can find that guy soon. Yumi said with a headache, and whispered, why is the security in Quartz City so bad? Well, sometimes if the general environment somewhere is not good, you should think about whether you are too close to someone who is destroying the general environment. Isn't there anything left by the prisoner now? Eminem remembers that in the play, the prisoner left something behind on purpose. Even after Jiaming was silenced by Jinjiu, Fengshu saw his body and left something suggesting his identity next to it. As a result, the time of death and the time of the crime did not match up. No, we are also waiting for the prisoner to contact the hotel or the Omiya family. Mejo said at this time. He thought Amu meant that, since the prisoner had kidnapped Yansong, he should have something to ask for, so he would definitely contact and inform him of the purpose of the blackmail. By the way, what did you say to Representative Iwamatsu yesterday? He looked very bad at that time. Kagoro asked Amu seriously at this time. Mejo also looked over seriously when he heard this. After hearing this, Yumi also had an expression of why didn't you tell me earlier? Actually, Eminem's expression changed at this moment, which made everyone more focused. Conan took this opportunity to sneak into the room to investigate. When I saw the Twin Towers. I was thinking, if you block Bayan Mountain like this, you will definitely be hated by people, right? Maybe there will be people who can't see the view of Bayan Mountain because of this, and I'm going to kill them. I think Uncle Kagoro saw here. It must be because President Mio received threatening emails or something, right? Eminem said very reasonably. Yumi, Kagoro, Media, this guy will definitely score high on the potential criminal psychology test. Would a normal person think that this could constitute a vicious crime? By the way, Yumi, no traces of any skills were found at the scene. Amu asked specifically. Well, except for the traces left by Councilman Iwamatsu's Pokémon, I didn't find anything extra, so I guess it's a fighting type Pokémon. At least I used fighting type skills to subdue them. Yumi pointed. He nodded. No discovery is also a discovery. Fighting skills are the least likely to leave any traces, because their power comes from the user's body. After hearing this, Eminem couldn't help but start to think about which rock type and water type Pokémon were also good at fighting type. There are really not many Pokémon that are rock plus fighting, or water plus fighting. After much deliberation, Eminem thought he was just a mosquito repellent warrior. As for the Three Musketeers and the martial arts bear, they fit the bill, but the Fengshu Pavilion Master definitely didn't have one. Of course, the leader of the Fengshu Gym is nominally good at rock and water types, but Amu doesn't think that he only has these two types of Pokémon. Generally, experienced trainers, especially trainers above the king level, will have all the attributes. A little more variety. After all, there is also the term evolution. If you are good at rock type and water type, you should also be good at ground type, grass type, and steel type. Okay, let's leave this floor now, and try not to touch other things. Mumu said at this time. He felt that if Eminem stayed here, Yumi police would dare to answer anything. Kid, you too. Kagoro then threw out Conan, who had sneaked into the house to look for clues. Eminem was not too troublesome. He told Yumi that he could contact Yumi at any time if he needed anything, and then turned around and left. Eminem was 80% convinced that it was the owner of Fengshu Hall who did it. After all, so many times, although each case has changed beyond recognition, the prisoner does not seem to have changed. On the other hand, after Eminem came out, he also saw Jiaming, Xiaoxia and the others. At this time, they also ended their short inquiry and were about to leave the hotel. Shinami stood aside and apologized profusely to Sonoko and others. After all, they were in the Twin Towers, causing everyone to suffer this unreasonable disaster. It's okay, we've long been used to this kind of thing. Miss Shinami, please go see President Mio first. Sonoko comforted Shinami instead. Of course, Shinami obviously only thought that Sonoko said this as being polite, but Sonoko really felt, where is this? She just disappeared, and she hasn't even seen her body yet. I've seen too many small scenes like this. On the other hand, Conan seized the opportunity and asked Eminem privately, hey, are you suspicious of the master of Fengshu Pavilion? Why? Conan was keenly aware of Eminem's underlying attitude. Oh, there are some. When Eminem heard this, he did not deny it. Look, the master of Fengshu Hall seems to be very socially afraid. He will do something if he doesn't agree with him. Is it normal, Conan? Conan didn't care much about Eminem's logic, probably because he was used to it. Then, are you going to go to Fengshu Gym or continue to follow Jiaming? Conan was staring at Jiaming from behind. One is the owner of Fengshu Hall who needs to be investigated and maybe a prisoner, and the other is a programmer who is suspected to be a member of the Dark Organization. They both look urgent. No, of course I'm going to play against the club. I have an official match tomorrow, Eminem said. Spreading his hands, Conan glared at Eminem angrily, only to find that he was serious. This is Junsha's business. It's not impossible for the detective to insist on taking over him, but no matter how you think about it, it has nothing to do with me, the trainer who is about to compete. Eminem emphasized. Really? Okay. Conan said helplessly, pointing Conan's eyes. After all, Representative Iwamatsu has only disappeared, and the biggest breakthrough has not yet appeared. That is, the blackmail phone calls or letters have not been received at this time. Before that, there were very few things that could be traced in this case. As for the programmer, even if he is really a technician of the dark organization, he may not be in contact with the organization in the past few days. Dr. Agassiz Shinichi did not leak important information, so Conan was not in a hurry to do anything. However, what Conan doesn't know is that although Eminem said this to him and Zyarksha and others, but after being separated from everyone, Eminem did not go to the battle club. Just as Zyarksha said, it is better to make other preparations for pre-battle training at this time. Only ZOAI seemed to have guessed something. And when leaving with Zaya, she glanced at Eminem a few more times. Yes, Eminem still chooses to follow Jiaming. If you can get some gin, you'll make a profit. Dang dang. Chapter 3 is a little later. Chapter 344 Chance Encounter. Jiaming left the hotel and just returned to his rented apartment. Just as he was about to open the door, Jiaming's eyes narrowed. The door lock had been tampered with. He made some anti-tracking settings on the door, of course. Jiaming also understood that the reason why he saw it was probably because the other party deliberately left traces to show their unscrupulousness after opening the door. Jiaming saw Jin Shangzi wearing a black windbreaker and a black hat, sitting on his sofa with his back to the door. Standing next to him was a man wearing sunglasses and also dressed in black. Fatty. It was the two of them. Jiaming became even more nervous. They are also technicians, but Jiaming's status in the organization is not that high. He is only a peripheral member and has not met Jin too many times. I hope you really have something important to do. We don't have time to waste time with you right now. Yes, Jin appeared here because Jiaming took the initiative to contact him before, but the reason why he was in Quartz City was because he had other things to attend to. I have important information to tell you, but I want to get back the evidence. I don't want to work for you anymore, Jiaming said nervously. Jiaming has long wanted to leave the organization. He tried to test Conan before and wanted to exchange it. As a technician, Jiaming is as naive as Mingmui. If you are ZOAI, you will definitely understand that there is no such thing as exit. Tell me. Jin used his sword and shield pendant to push the brim of his hat. Jiaming originally wanted to insist that the other party agree to him first, but when the word came to his mouth, he felt scared again. I heard that the high school detective named Shinichi was killed by the organization, right? But I heard some news about him. Jiaming said hesitantly. Hurt? You didn't just hear Dr. Ailey mention him, right? Jin's tone was impatient. For that kind of thing, Jin always used it as a smoke bomb. Maybe it was Dr. Eri who was working with the Junsha investigator organization. As he spoke, Jin turned his head, glanced at him and said, are you just wasting my time with this kind of thing? No. Of course I have other important news, Jiaming said immediately. But at this moment, his tone paused again. Firstly, there seemed to be some problem with his machine, and the little boy could not get up, so there was no solid evidence. Secondly, he did not want to tell Jin the most important thing right away, otherwise he would not know more chips. But even though he said this, what kind of Volt Fox is Jin? Naturally, I heard his guilty conscience. Haha, do you want to quit? Of course you can, but you may have misunderstood something. Those evidences and the like were not originally used to threaten you, so you don't have to think too much. Jin stood up at this time. So. Jiaming was delighted when he heard this, but then he felt instinctively nervous. We won't use those threats to you. If you want to withdraw, just withdraw from this world completely. As Jin spoke, he swung the pendant he was holding to his side. The strong shield sword monster had grown into the size of a long sword and slashed at Jiaming in the next moment. The sword wind directly cut the sofa in two and continued to roll towards Jiaming. I believe he would not be stronger than the sofa. Fortunately, Jiaming was not completely unprepared. At this moment, the computer in the room, which had not been turned on, suddenly burst into flames, and then a Polygon Z rushed out from it. At the same time, with an explosion of ice power, a large number of pixelated snowflakes poured out of the body of Polygon Z, sweeping around indiscriminately like knives. Not only did it scatter the sword wind drawn by the strong shield sword monster, but more importantly, it also attacked the people in the house indiscriminately. Jiaming has something to hide from both the Joban group and Junsha. In addition to the polygon he carries with him, he actually also has a polygon Z-type point, although in terms of combat power, it is only 30 or 40,000, and the Quasi King does not count. But, as Yumi said before, because of the special nature of the Porygon family, a sneak attack will be very effective, because it is a Pokémon born from code, although it is a normal type. Like the ghost type, it can be invisible and hidden in any object that stores data, and even transmit itself through the network. Teacher K also said that the general in general department does not mean ordinary, but pure. Whether it's gin or vodka, any Pokémon can defeat this Polygon Z head on, but now it suddenly rushes out and uses Blizzard on a large area, making them both confused to one-time point as the trainer of Polygon Z-type. Because the bond is high enough, this Blizzard actually has little impact on Jiaming. But, after all, he is just a technician and has no combat experience at all point at this time. In panic, he fell to the ground and actually wanted to crawl towards the door. He was immediately caught up by Jin, who regained his footing and was about to receive a last hit point unexpectedly. At this moment, the door was suddenly opened. It was Amu who had followed him all the way up. He heard the noise and opened the unlocked door. Jiaming was lying on the ground, scared to death, while Jin and Eminem, who were standing in front and behind him, looked at each other without any hindrance. After being surprised, Jin's eyes lit up. Regardless of Jiaming at his feet, he immediately stabbed over in Jin's heart. Eminem's killing priority was obviously much higher than Jiaming's, but just when Eminem was about to be stabbed, when all I saw was an invisible wall that blocked Jin's attack. Even though his trump card, Shield Sword Monster, was a Great King level Pokémon, it had no intention of breaking through the defense. It seemed that Leoka was not lying. He could still react when it was really about to die. When Jin saw this, his pupils trembled greatly, and he understood what this meant. The next moment, Eminem reacted with joy in his eyes. At the same time, I saw Eminem looking out the window of the house, then ignoring Jin's attack and running towards the house desperately. When Jin was about to rush past him, he activated the Holy Sword skill to strike again, but still failed. Then, Jin realized something and immediately stopped releasing the big steel snake of vodka and told him to run away. When Amu opened the window and turned to sit by the window, she found that the two of them had fled into the corridor and disappeared. Eminem also gradually calmed down his original excited look at this time. This excitement has some element of performance. After all, Eminem doesn't dare to summon Leoka casually. First, there are too many restrictions on Leokas coming out. For example, in current apartment buildings, Leoka's only attack angle is from outside or reaching through the window. Don't use too much force, otherwise it may cause too many additional casualties. This awkward posture may not be able to kill Jin. Secondly, and more importantly, once Leoka fails to succeed, it is likely to expose its fatal weakness that cannot continue to appear. Of course, it will be Eminem's life. Jin could also think of the former at this time, so he took vodka and ran into the corridor. Although the occupancy rate of apartments in Quartz City is usually very low, they are not ghost buildings after all. Especially now that the flow of people in Quartz City has increased a lot. In this case, Jin believed that Eminem would not forcefully destroy the building and attack. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345 Gift. Brother, I can tie him up with the big steel snake. Huh, what next? Then, wait for the effect of his protection skills to pass. Idiot. What matters is not the protective effect of that skill, but what it represents. Vodka thought he could do it, but was scolded by Jin afterwards. Indeed, if Kaoparis can only provide some protective skills to Eminem, as long as he traps Eminem with big steel snake, he will still be at the mercy of others. But what Jin thought about this was that this meant that there was indeed a connection between the giant dragon and Eminem. Seeing him running towards the window, Jin was even more sure that he just wanted to summon the giant dragon. His instinct did sound a warning, Fortunately, that guy was too big, so Eminem didn't dare to use it unless he was in a specific open place. So Jin thought vodka actually wants to say, why don't we give it a try? What if his giant fast dragon has other limitations? Even if it doesn't happen, it might not necessarily lead to reckless death, right? Didn't he survive last time? Just looking at Jin's expression, Vodka could only say in his heart, brother is right. Under Jin's caution, the two of them carefully entered the pipe room on the first floor, and then lurked out of the apartment along the pipes at the same time. Other people in the apartment had already been alerted and reported to Junsha Point. Of course Eminem didn't chase him out. After all, if he was in the corridor, Eminem would only get beaten. If he really wanted to summon Leocat, the whole building would suffer at the same time. Eminem also directly contacted Miwako from the Special Operations Team. It's not to contain Jin or provide clues about the Dark Organization, but to let the Special Operations Team testify. After all, the things about the Dark Organization cannot be explained to ordinary Junsha Point. After calling Miwako and explaining what was going on here, Eminem left the frightened Jiaming alone and studied the snow in the room. Eminem looked at the room at this time and saw half of the mosaic snow or pixel snow. It's not that it has really melted, but that these snows are gradually becoming normal. At this time, Eminem squatted down and held a handful of the mixture of pixel snow and normal snow next to the sofa. After rubbing it, he found that the handful was transformed into normal snow. The feeling of rubbing it's no different from ordinary snow. When I come into contact with the pixel snow, there is no grainy feeling that hurts my hands. And all are gradually disappearing. In essence, these snow are also products of ice energy. Just like the products of rock and water type moves, they will not last long and will gradually disappear when the Junshus arrived. There was basically no snow in the room. The Special Operations Team is directly under the Quartz Alliance, and this is the center of the Quartz Alliance, Quartz City. Therefore, when Junsha arrived, he had already received the order from the Quartz Alliance and did not ask Eminem any more questions or even invite him. He went back to cooperate with the investigation, but instead hid Eminem's presence here from the outside world. In addition, after Junsha from the Quartz headquarters arrived, he was not in a hurry to take Jiaming away. He seemed to be waiting for someone. Hey, Miwako, are you coming to Quartz City too? Amu looked at in surprise. It was Miwako who came to take Jiaming away. Well, for the rookie competition, many people from the Special Operations Team have returned to Quartz City. Miwako looked at Jiaming at this time and said, Hera Jiaming, are you a technical staff member of the Flare team? Please cooperate with us in the future. It is also the only choice for the safety of yourself and your family. For the technicians of the Dark Organization, naturally the Special Operations Team comes to take custody. Although Jiaming is also a member of the Dark Organization, if this kind of researcher is not involved in other criminal activities, the punishment will not be too severe. The main purpose is to provide protection. After all, he needs to be a tainted witness. Jiaming was so frightened at this time that of course he did not dare to refute. Wait a moment, Mr. Eminem, thank you very much for your help. Otherwise I'm afraid I will really be killed. Jiaming finally calmed down a little and began to thank Eminem. No, instead of saying thank you, I have something to ask you. What's going on with that machine? Eminem asked curiously. As for Jiaming's little plan to find out Zenai's secret, Eminem did not reveal it, nor did he specifically condemn him. Firstly, although it is immoral, he just wanted to save himself. Secondly, and most importantly, what's more important, if you say it out, it would be equivalent to admitting to him that Shinichi is Conan. Jiaming hesitated for a moment and then explained the principle to Eminem. Although the machine seems to be just for entertainment, but it contains Jiaming's core research results. If it was someone else, he really didn't want to say it. Simply put, the core technology of programming in this world is also related to Pokémon, or it is related to the power of Pokémon, which can be regarded as a kind of bionics. For example, the reason why Dr. Rare's wireless signal is so hidden is that it imitates the unique information dissemination method of Porygon family. For example, Garmin's future prediction machine imitates some aspects of Celebi. It is precisely because of the nature of programming that the Polygon family was born, and their powers also seem very special. When Porygon uses elemental skills, although the effect is the same. It initially looks like pixel blocks, and it gradually adapts to the real world. That's it. Eminem said that's it, but he didn't really understand it. Okay, I have to take him away. Hand over the elf ball first. Miwako said. At this time Jiaming handed over all the Pokémon he was carrying and let the Polygon hide without being clever, and at this moment, Jiaming took out another USB flash drive and said, if Mr. Eminem is interested, I will give you the egg of this Polygon. Although Pokémon in this world all lay eggs, Pokémon eggs are diverse. Many mineral Pokémon eggs look like stones, such as Bulbasaur eggs, which have the texture of seeds, but Eminem really didn't know before that the egg of Porygon was actually a USB flash drive. Eminem looked at it in surprise, the USB flash drive with the trademark printed on it. Perhaps seeing Eminem's confusion, Jiaming explained, before the Polygon was completely hatched, it existed completely in the form of data. Now it exists in this USB flash drive. It will appear in physical form after hatching. After hearing this, Eminem understood before and Jiaming was taken away. Amu specifically asked him one last question. Dang, you can leave messages as normal. Although you can't see them now, they will be posted together after a while. Chapter 346 Purpose. Because it was related to Team Flare, especially the most difficult dark organization among them, what happened in this apartment was concealed and was only declared to be an ordinary robbery case. But when Conan saw Jiaming's back on the news, he immediately understood that he had been dazzled by Eminem. After a hurried lie, I insisted on borrowing the bathroom in Eminem's room. Hey, Conan, it's true. Xiaolan couldn't stop her in time. When Conan knocked on Eminem's door, he found that Xiaoai was there. Seeing this, Conan became even more certain. The two of them must have been talking about the Dark Organization just now. You didn't go to the battle club at all. You went to Jiaming's place, right? Did you fight with people from the Dark Organization? Conan asked. No. Amu shook his head matter-of-factly. Really? Jiaming's matter has nothing to do with you? Conan looked unconvinced. It's related, but there was no fight. Gin and vodka ran away after seeing me. Eminem continued matter-of-factly. Conan, anything like that is fine. Have you seen gin and vodka? Conan asked quickly. As for running away, Conan can probably guess that Eminem must have some kind of trump card, but he can't use it regularly. I saved Jiaming, who was about to be silenced. As a technician, he obviously doesn't have a thorough understanding of the Dark Organization. He is so naive that he wants to quit casually. Ouch. Halfway through Eminem's words, he was stepped on by Xiaoai. It was the two of them who came here in person? That you and Jiaming? Conan's thinking began to diverge, but he couldn't figure it out. No, he is not an important person. He doesn't even have a code name. He didn't expect that gin and vodka would be looking for him. It should be that gin and vodka have other matters. They happened to come to Quartz City, and it was just a matter of course to deal with him. Eminem explained. Conan then showed a look of understanding. This makes sense. Otherwise, if Jiaming is as important a researcher as Shirley, then it would be very strange for him to work part-time in the Joban Group, unless Joban Group is also part of Team Flare. If he is just a researcher without a code name, then it is normal for him to have his own life. By the way, have you asked, what is the purpose of the Dark Organization in finding so many programming experts? Conan didn't hold out much hope at this time. It's not that Eminem didn't ask, but that Jiaming is not even a formal member, so he probably doesn't know such a big secret. Xiaoai has already explained that the ultimate goal of the evolutionary technicians in the organization is to realize a plan called human evolution. Although she didn't understand everything, she at least roughly understood the meaning of this plan. Just like its name, it was to allow humans to evolve like Pokémon. But Xiaoai didn't know what the technical staff on the programmer's side were doing. After all, they were completely different systems from hers. I'm asking, Eminem said and shrugged, but Jiaming is not an official member yet, so of course he won't know much. This was also the last question Eminem asked Jiaming. Sure enough, Conan sighed, but I can guess some. Eminem's tone became serious at this time point. Conan looked over quickly after hearing this, and Eminem said, the reason why Jiaming is not a formal member is not because of insufficient skills, but because he has never agreed. Although the dark organization has been threatening him because of some things, he had to join as a peripheral member, but the progress of absorbing him as a full member has been progressing, unlike those desperados who are desperate or even psychopathic. It is actually difficult for the Flash team to attract technical personnel from outside. After all, they are good people, so there is no reason why they want to be crossing the street. The core technicians of the Flare team are, on the one hand, Shirley, who was trained by themselves, and on the other hand, they are Lafite, that is, Fralada, whose own ambitions coincide with the goals of the organization, and even he is one of the founders of Team Flare, this kind of scientific madman who is generally frustrated in the outside world, and whose research projects are not appreciated by mainstream society. There is also a small part that uses gray means of coercion and inducement. This part is the least, because it is too easy to expose. Once he uses this method, it proves that his skills are very important to Team Flare's plan. For example, against Jiaming, the Flash team didn't even come forward to threaten. It is precisely because of this that Jiaming actually knows something. For example, the research that Team Flare asked him to do. He happened to meet Celebi when he was a child. When he grew up, he became a programmer and has been addicted to it. The kind of machine he saw before used code to realize some of the abilities of Celebi, or say yes, part-time rule. In addition, Jiaming also knows that in the Quartz Alliance, there is another programming wizard who can use code to simulate some of the space rules. Like him, he has also been recruited as a peripheral member, but unfortunately, Jiaming does not know that person's identity. I don't think this is a coincidence. Although I don't know the ultimate purpose of Team Flash, they must have gathered so many programming experts just to steal various rules. Amu expressed his reasonable guess. Of course, it is said to be stealing the rules, but in fact, as far as Jiaming is concerned, his code can only be regarded as exposed to the rules. For example, if Eminem has a little bit of Celebi in him, his code will immediately stop working. Just like a PTX 4869, it is just an unfinished product, and can only be said to be a promising future. In Conan, the Dark Organization recruited so many programmers. Some people speculated that it was for backup of souls. They even suspected that Renai Karasuma was dead and was only backed up during his lifetime. In this way, the purposes of programming and biology are very unified, directly pointing to the dual immortality of body and spirit. In this world, Eminem doesn't think programming has anything to do with the soul. Otherwise, wouldn't Ghost System, Superpower System and the like be more specialized in the spiritual and soul aspects? Eminem and ZioAI just talked about this matter, but ZioAI had no clue about it. She was only responsible for the evolutionary side. However, ZioAI suggested that Eminem should try asking Kaoparis. After all, a family with an elder is like a treasure, but Eminem didn't think that Leoka would know such an emerging thing as programming. However, ZioAI feels that programming is just a means. Since it has touched the threshold of rules, it should have something in common with divine status, priesthood, etc. Dang dang. The third chapter will be updated later. In addition, the comments are temporarily unavailable. The author can see them in the background. They will be released together in a few days, so you can leave messages as usual. Chapter 347 Official Match. Yeah. Got it. Leoka replied like this, and then there was no movement. Slim Shady? What do you know? I'm obviously asking you what you know. Snort. Before Eminem could ask any more questions, there was already a sound of snoring. Eminem has also gotten used to it, and knows that, whether Leoka really doesn't know, or doesn't want to tell him, there will be no results if he continues to ask. So Eminem simply wrote a diary, and prepared to rest as usual. Why didn't you change rooms with Conan? Amu couldn't help but wonder when she saw ZioAI was still there, probably because he misses his sister Zianalan. Zio AI said with great certainty. Slim Shady. Eminem suspects that because Zio AI learned that gin and vodka are now in Quartz City and even saw Eminem during the day, dark organization PTSD has occurred, and Zio Land can no longer give her a sense of security. However, Eminem also has a high emotional intelligence and did not reveal it. Your eyes are a bit rude. Zio AI, with her low emotional intelligence, saw through it herself. Ahem. Okay, then I'll sleep outside. Eminem changed the subject. There is nothing inconvenient. Since we live here in the garden, of course everyone has a suite. Eminem was about to sleep in the room outside, and he gentlemanly gave up the master bedroom to Zio AI. But, no, only the master bedroom has a window, which is more suitable for you to summon the giant dragon at critical moments. Zio AI said very thoughtfully, well, do you think that where there are windows, enemies can come in? Amu confirmed to her with a slight suspicion. If everyone cannot accept the kindness of the same kind, humanity will be doomed. Zio AI looked disappointed. Slim Shady. No matter where he sleeps, Eminem is already looking forward to tomorrow's official match September 1st. Early in the morning, Eminem and Zio Aksha, plus Yuanzi and others, had already arrived at the competition venue. Of course it is different from the qualifiers. The official competition is an open arena. Not only is the battle area larger, but the audience can also accommodate 100,000 people. The first 2 rounds of the official match will be held here, and the semifinals will begin in the dome venue on the top floor of the newly completed Twin Towers. The reason why the ribbon cutting will be held on September 4th is because the semifinals will be held on September 5th. Although something happened at the Twin Towers, the competition arrangement does not seem to have changed. The size of the competition venue at this time is a standard big venue, which is different from the small venue during the qualifiers. If both players have bad ears and low voices, it will be difficult for them to speak harshly to each other during the game. More importantly, for trainers who are still in the stage of commanding Pokémon with words, this is a disguised weakening point, because they had complimentary tickets from the player's family and friends group. Sonoko and others were at the front of the audience, and it felt like, if the barrier Pokémon at the scene made a mistake, its skills would hit it in the face. Conan is not there, but is said to be with Kagoro. Eminem is probably continuing to investigate the disappearance case, which makes Eminem feel reassured. Of course, this kind of problem will not occur in the novice competition. There are barrier equipment on site, and the barrier Pokémon is matched with the isolation equipment on site. Even if it deliberately attacks head-on, it will not be so easy to be broken through. Theoretically, if it is fully loaded and equipped with enough barrier Pokémon, it can block at least one of the king level Dynamax skills. Eminem and Zio Aksha were already in the players' preparation room. The 16 players had their own lounges, located on the east and west sides of the arena. There was a preparation hall on each side of the arena, where players could communicate. The 8 players on the east side are all wild trainers who have stood out in the preliminary rounds. After that, the competition will start from the academic side, from 1st to 8th place. As the 3rd place qualifier, Eminem's opponent is the 6th place from the academy, and what is about to begin is the match between Zio Yang, the number 1 player in the academy, versus Zio. Zio was already waiting in the tunnel, and the other players were in the preparation hall. It seems that the luck of the 8th place Red Hat only ends here. In the past 3 years, the academic side could only win 1 or 2 games, but it is still very rare to lose the first game. Of course you can only know this kind of thing after trying it, and if someone hadn't mixed up with us, the number 1 in the academy would not be Zio Liang. The players are also making their own predictions, and by the way, Condembaji Zio Aksha also curiously asked Eminem, who do you think will win? As for Zio, his ability to get here is already beyond my expectations, but in terms of victory or defeat, it's hard to say. Eminem said something contradictory. The number 1 in the academy is a young man with long bangs who looks a little gloomy. Eminem has seen information about this Zio Liang from tabloids, a super trainer who, in addition to attending classes at school, also makes up lessons at the Golden Gym during holidays. He is also a graduate of Didon High School. Previously ranked second all year round point at the beginning of the game, Zyozzy was indeed lagging behind. The first release of Squirtle plus Bulbasaur really scared a lot of people. Zyozzy even felt that this red hat was mocking him, but I don't know why. Even his dream-inducing taper plus ice treading doll failed to win quickly. Although he suppressed Squirtle, it still attracted bursts of boos from the scene. Of course, many people have already guessed that this red hat should have some special trainer ability, which causes the strength of unevolved Pokémon to be greatly improved, equivalent to an enhanced version of the evolution stone, shared by the whole team. As a representative of the academy, Zyozzy had not thought of this possibility. However, Zyozzy, who lacked experience in fighting, especially in situations where the audience was full, was still greatly affected by the boos. Your name is Zyozzy, right? You are so strong. I'm so happy to have such a great battle. Super power system. So powerful. Don't be influenced by others. Let's all do our best. Pikachu, stand up. Zyozzy felt a little uncomfortable. It would be better if his hearing was poorer. Unfortunately, people with strong mental strength usually have sharp ears and eyesight, so he has been accepting Zyozzy's mental pollution point as a result. He gradually became unable to concentrate, and his efficiency in commanding Pokémon became less and less. He was even defeated by Ash in a doubles match. Eminem was also surprised, because he vaguely remembered that when Zyozzy participated in the competition for the first time, his results should not be good. Could it be because his teammates have changed? There are no women in the team. Training a natural god. Chapter 348, The Helplessness of the Academy. Pikachu, stand up. Pikachu, come on. I saw that at this time, Ahudi and Zyozzy's Pikachu had fallen to the ground. This is already the final stage of the singles duel. The two sides just fell to the ground after fighting each other. Because Pikachu entered the field later, according to the standard rules, if they fell to the ground together, it would be ruled as a wild ground victory. In terms of total points, Zyozzy will also be 1 point behind. Defeated. I think the referee can announce it. The guest commentator was Napoleon, the vice principal of an independent Pokémon academy overseas. He looked like a middle-aged man with a mustache who looked a bit like Brew Emperor. Coach Napoleon. JPG. You can't see the picture now, so you can make up your own mind. As for whether Coach Napoleon will make a cameo, or if there is really an academy story, that will depend on the situation later. At this time, he was losing face. Firstly, Zyozzy's repeated mysterious operations made his previous explanations appear to be full of loopholes. Secondly, Zyozzy's mental collapse also lost the academic people. Thirdly, this is first versus second. 8. It would be too ugly to really lose. Although he is not from Didon Academy, as an academic, it is also embarrassing, right? At this time, Zyozzy's opponent, Zyozzy, was already in a daze, with who am I, where am I, and what are you fighting about all over his face. However, the referee did not announce immediately. The referee, who was born in the East George family, has very sharp eyesight. He has his own judgment on which kind of fainting is likely to wake up and which kind is impossible. At this moment, Pikachu stood up again tremblingly. Although he was still shaking, he did stand up for a while before completely fainting. In this way, they don't faint together, but there is an obvious order. The referee with the Don George style beard announced, Hudi has lost his combat effectiveness. Zyozzy has scored 9 points in singles. Zyozzy wins with the total score. The entire audience cheered at this moment. There was some silence in the commentary room, and the host was very discerning, and did not ask Napoleon any more questions, although many trainers said that they did not understand this game. In any case, Ash, upset by ranking 8th in the qualifiers, and counter-attacking to defeat the first place in the academy competition, made most viewers willing. Cheers and applause for the dark horse. Of course, there are also the whales of gambling dogs. It is estimated that Zyozzy will be accused of match fixing after the game, but the alliance can naturally judge that he is a real talent. No, it's Zyozzy's ability, which is indeed unexpected. The qualifiers were also happy at this time. Firstly, they did not embarrass the traveling faction, and secondly, it also really damaged the morale of the academic faction, and more importantly, put pressure on the academic faction point as a result. The academic people will definitely be more impatient in terms of tactics after all. Finishing first and losing to 8th place must have attracted a lot of criticism, and they will be eager to prove themselves, but it is a pity that these psychological advantages still failed to turn into a victory in the 2nd in the academy versus 7th in the pre-selection showdown point. Although it was a battle between dragons and tigers, it was not a crushing game, but in the end the academy won point, and in the 3rd place in the academy versus the 6th place in the pre-selection, the traveling party once again fought hard and won. Next, what Eminem is more concerned about is the 4th in the academy vs the 5th in the preliminaries, that is, Zyloxia's game. Zyloxia's opponent is also a girl named Jyozi. She looks very cute with long hair. She came from a trainer school in Cerulean City, but Zyloxia didn't know her before point after all. Pokémon schools are usually in the suburbs. However, Zyloxia had naturally read her information before. In addition to the information collected from major battle platforms, Zyloxia also specifically searched some local tabloids in Hualien and discovered some bullying rumors. After reading some interviews and surveys at that time, Zyloxia felt that this guy was a bitch. Before the game started, Zyloxia and Jyozi shook hands in the field point at this time. Jyozi said specifically, "You are really unlucky. You already know that, right? I'm a grass type trainer, and you. It's a pity that you are not the same fire type trainer as the master of the explosive flame hall." Naturally, Jyozi has also seen Zyloxia's information. Zyloxia said with a straight face, "Is this what you learned in school? It's really simple. Of course, this is purely a quarrel between the two parties. Eminem knows that there is a lot of theoretical knowledge learned in Pokémon school. In addition to courses related to Pokémon cultivation and battle command, he will also learn his own corresponding attributes. Basic knowledge, just like the grass-based knowledge that Eminem learned from teacher Jumu. It includes both science and mysticism, and is very profound. After all, Eminem should actually be considered a traveling school, but he didn't go to school, and he didn't lose any theoretical knowledge. As for attribute restraint, it's just the same foundation as a multiplication table. It's not something that academics recite every day. Oh, simple. I hope you can still say that later." Jyozi said slightly arrogantly, "Well, there are not many opportunities left for the academics. If you lose to me, none of the 4 guys behind you will be able to win." Zyloxia smiled slightly point pride. "Since we have to develop each other's mentality, Zyloxia has also put the eloquence she learned into practice. Well, traveling means learning from each other with your companions." After the game started, Zyloxia's tactics were also very clear. She started with the combination of Lapras plus Gem Starfish. Jyozi also guessed at a glance that he wanted to use Lapras's ice type skills to restrain his grass type Pokémon. So from the beginning, the hero commanded the concentrated fire Lapras in addition to his skills, but the extremely fast Gem Starfish, when it first activated its skill, directly launched Surf. The entire place was immediately swept by waves. Although the attack against grass type Pokémon is not very effective, because it is a full field attack, it not only causes damage to both of the pride's grass type Pokémon, but also, because Lapras's characteristic is water storage, and restored a wave of physical strength for it. At the same time, because the venue is temporarily moist, Lapras activities are more free. As expected, the proud man immediately regarded Lapras as his formidable enemy. After taking a shot of Blizzard, he started to serve him with paralysis powder and hypnosis powder. However, when Lapras was attacked, Gem Starfish directly asked for rain. Lapras was seen bathing in the rain, and the alien energy that invaded the body and caused negative effects was immediately washed away. Go down. Zyloxia's Lapras has the dual characteristics of moist body and water storage. The proud man who was deceived has suffered a big loss in rhythm. Even though the grass type Pokémon is resistant to water type skills, Rainy Day also has the bonus of water type skills. Gem Starfish's Surf, with the bonus of rainy weather. Grass type Pokémon cannot ignore it, and every time, Surf will restore Lapras's physical strength. The focused Fire Lapras will recover physical strength under Surf, and the focused Fire Gem Starfish it flies too fast again. Moreover, the combination of Rainy Day plus Blizzard plus Surf makes the field even more unfavorable to grass types. Although the terrain cannot be changed for a long time, the effect will disappear immediately unlike Pokémon below the level. Under the snowball, Zyarksha directly defeated the Pride in the double stage. In the commentary room, Napoleon was obviously anxious, seeing that the situation was not going well. Napoleon could only say over and over again, Player Zyarksha's tactical arrangement is very academic style and Player Zyarksha traveled with that Eminem, so she should be very familiar with the grass element. Something like that. Go back and make up for it. Chapter 349 Complete Victory. Zyarksha. Invincible. Yuanzi screamed and shouted from the audience point. His crazy look made other spectators around him look at him. Zyarksha has long been used to it. The same goes for Sonoko when she watches her karate competitions. As long as she wins, she will scream to the point of breaking her throat, and once she loses, she will even cry harder than herself. Of course, Zyarksha still stopped her a little bit, because there were still 9 points. For singles, as we all know, popping the champagne at halftime is not advisable. Point after Zyarksha's singles stage started, she still started with Gem Starfish to activate Rainy Day, and then teleportation, and delayed substitutions were replaced by Spin Dragon King. Teleportation is a delayed skill. That is to say, the system is negative first, and after using it, it will not take effect until the skill is ready again. The effect of teleportation can be either a literal teleportation or a return to the elf ball. Point sounds silly. It can't be used first, it doesn't do any damage, and the effect is just to return to the Pokeball. But even in the game, this move has tactical significance. Delaying the activation means that the Pokémon on the field will take this round of damage before leaving, allowing the next Pokémon to remain intact. Status appears in this real world. Duels are not turn-based, but after teleportation is activated, the Pokémon that is swapped out will get the legacy power of the activated Pokémon, as long as there is not a big difference in strength between the two. Basically, the Pokémon that just came out will also be in a state of skill ready. The skill that the initiator prepares for the second time is not a waste. At this time, Zyarksha directly changed into the Stinging Dragon King, and ended up with a wave of Dragon Dance. Surprisingly, he is still a Thorn Dragon King who is attacking as a Pokémon with Water plus Dragon attributes. Spirit King is both offensive and defensive in terms of both Grass type and Grass type attributes. The Sting Dragon King with physical attack attributes? Could it be that the main Dragon type output skill is Reverse Scale? This move will test the bond between the trainer and the Pokémon. It's appeared. It's really Reverse Scale. It seems that the proud player has no chance. Yes, that's it. As long as you hold on for a while, Reverse Scale can only be activated continuously after being activated, and if activated too many times, it will cause chaos. The opportunity has come. This is Musi Potion. Napoleon analyzed all the way, and it turned out that the Pride had indeed used high frequency substitutions to sustain the Spin Dragon King's round of Reverse Scale, and was about to wait for it to fall into chaos to counterattack. But, at this moment, the energy of the grass was rippling all over the body of Spirit Dragon King, and the Musi Potion, taken in advance, took effect. A potion made of Musi fruit as the main material. The effect is to make the Pokémon lose control. When it loses control, to calm down is to relieve the chaos state. Point in this way, all the skill opportunities that Gyrozy had before were used to substitute people and share damage, which did not put any pressure on the Thorn Dragon King at all. At this time, facing the intact Thorn Dragon King, it was no longer possible to fight strength. After Spiny Dragon King defeated a single Pokémon of Gyrozy, Zyarksha scored 3 points and won with a total of 11 points. The referee announced directly. Point at this time, Yuanzi cheered confidently and boldly. Counting all the subsequent points, the Pride can only get 9 points at most, so there is no need to continue playing point. This has also become the official stage. The first matchup that did not play all the games. Napoleon waited for a long time and then said, well, Zyloxia's tactical arrangements are very appropriate and clever. This is how a trainer's battle should work. Although the loser is the academic, Napoleon now has no choice but to go to Zylox knows how to fight to set the pace. Indeed, this is also true, and it is the result of learning from each other during the trip. Anyone who travels with an iron slave will be affected to some extent. The host saw that Napoleon was already running out of words, so he took the initiative and said, Vice Principal Napoleon, I heard that your school also has a contestant participating in the official competition this year, and he is 6th, right? That's right. But even though he is ranked 6th, or he is definitely the best graduate, in terms of theoretical scores, he has the highest score in this session, in the entire Quartz Alliance's joint examination. Napoleon emphasized at this time wrote, but this time his opponent is Eminem, who is 3rd in the qualifiers. In this qualifier, the top 3 are all very strong. Even in the challenge stage, no one challenged the 3 of them. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for the contestants to win. The host raised everyone's expectations by the waypoint, because the morning's schedule is over. Playing the whole game is still very time consuming, especially this time the battle was more intense than expected. In previous years, 1st versus 8th and 2nd versus 7th would be decided quickly. As a result, this year, it was not until Zyloxia's 4th game that there was finally an incomplete duel. As a result, the time is already a little faster now, seriously exceeding the expected time, and the audience is actually hungry. It's a lot of fun selling sausages and popcorn on the move. If Zyloxia's match is more intense and goes on until after 1 point, then the competition team will have to adjust the afternoon schedule. I'm still optimistic about Oi. Oi is very thoughtful and can fully utilize the strength of Pokémon in the duel. The lower ranking is just because he is not decisive enough in the duel. This is not a weakness. Vice Principal Napoleon is still their boasting point. However, the host had already announced, thank you very much for watching. The afternoon game will start on time at 2 o'clock. Well, the lunchbox sellers are also very happy this time. There is not enough time for the audience to go to the surrounding restaurants during the lunch break. The group of relatives and friends was able to enter the players' lounge, and Yuanzi immediately came to congratulate Zyloxia. By the way, the two of them started talking behind each other's back. That proud guy looked like a bitch, and he was definitely not a good guy. Hey, are you okay this afternoon? That guest commentator is very obviously biased, so don't overturn the situation, Yuanzi told Eminem. Obviously, the commentator's words aroused her rebellious psychology. Huh. Oh, that are we, right? Don't worry, I already have a clue. Eminem didn't think he would lose point. However, I still read Oi's information carefully and even wrote a diary to analyze it. Overall, this is a graduate who is very good in battle theory. Napoleon did not lie about this. Therefore, Eminem also thought about the main force he wanted to use. You can win beautifully without exposing too much of your main force. Dang. What does it mean to be physically disabled but mentally strong? I got up at 8 in the morning and coded 2 chapters. The 3rd chapter will be later. What are you waiting for? Go and post. Gigi has a high fever of 102 degrees and still insists on coding. Chapter 350 Opponent. Soon, the afternoon games began. These 4 games in the afternoon were all qualifiers. The players on this side were ranked higher at first. Everyone was expecting a dark horse from the academic side, but the game started at 2 o'clock. But Zyomeo ended the battle before 2:20, defeating his opponent faster than Zyloxia. As expected of Dr. Roki's grandson, it can be seen that player Zyomeo's Pokémon is very well trained. It cannot be trained just by stepping on the mud in the wild, and the tactical arrangements also reflect the true commanding art that a trainer should have. It was a truly touching demonstration. What's going on with that commentary, asshole? Are you looking down on our traveling trainers? How many people are left in the academy? There are not many opportunities left for the academy, Napoleon. was still speaking harshly, but the audience had already begun to boo him. The host also said at this time, "Well, the next one is the game that Principal Napoleon cares about the most, right? Let's wait and see how player Ori performs." This is also a battle that the audience is paying close attention to, and the reason naturally has nothing to do with Ori, some kind of battle academy on a broken island. Who knows what kind of cookie Ori is? The referee had just announced the entry of both players, and Eminem walked out of the corridor. Eminem, Eminem, Eminem. I heard the sound of the garden in the front row, which stood out. The sound playback system in the stadium is very clever. In the audience, you can hear the sounds in the commentary room. The players in the stadium can also hear the sounds in the audience, but they cannot hear the sounds in the commentary room. It sounds complicated, but in fact it just refers to the bionic design of sound type Pokémon. In this way, the guest commentators can explain without restraint without affecting the players on the field, and at the same time, the audience can hear it. Of course, with Amu's unusual hearing, if you listen carefully, you can still hear it. After all, the barrier is not soundproof, it is just a simulated acoustic partition point. If it were placed among sufficiently strong trainers, such as in the Gym Leaders Conference, King of Heaven Cup and other battles, there would be countless trainers with smart ears and eyes. Although their combat power is not as good as that of Pokémon, powerful trainers are often different from ordinary people in other aspects. It's just that for those trainers, what they hear is what they hear. They can't make the mistake of listening to the analysis of the commentary. For Eminem, the same is actually true. Then Eminem saw Ori player coming up from the other side. He seems to be a very honest boy, with a watermelon taro hairstyle, and wearing heavy looking black rimmed glasses, and he looks a bit shy. The two sides first came to the field to shake hands. Eminem felt that the other party was obviously nervous, and did not mean to say anything harsh. The two just shook hands calmly. Ori player versus Eminem player. Standard points rules. 4 points competition. Let's start the doubles showdown first. Please both sides release the starting Pokémon together. The middle-aged referee Don George announced at this time. I saw both sides picking up the match ball at this time, and to release Ray's shot out from both sides, releasing 2 Pokémon from each side. Eminem directly starts his old partners, Eggtree and Bulbasaur, or he also sent out his trump card King Slow and Metagross. Of course Eminem, who has read his information, knows that he also went all out to release his ace from the very beginning. Arwen's attribute tendency is great intelligence. That is to say, there are no specific attributes, but a characteristic tendency. His Pokémon are divided into 2 categories. One is very intelligent, such as the 2 now, and the other is extremely intelligent, such as Swamp Monster, Swamp King. The former is very similar to the trainer's clever characteristics, while the latter is completely mindless and relies entirely on the trainer's command, and can also bring out the trainer's good calculation characteristics. Don't look at the unevolved Slowpoke of Slowking. It doesn't look very smart, but Slowking is the complete opposite. Slowpoke uses the shells shed by the giant-tongued Clamor's evolution materials to evolve. Most of the Slowpoke can only inject the poison of the big tongue shell from the tail. That is, they can evolve into Slowpoke. Only a small number of Slowpoke can absorb the toxins from the big tongue shell starting from the head and evolve into Slowpoke King. This kind of Slowpoke is usually the king of the group in the wild. Once this kind of king evolution occurs, the evolved Slowking will have an extremely active brain due to toxins, and his IQ will soar. Although he still looks not smart, he actually has a very high IQ. When you get lost in the wild, if you encounter King Slow, you can ask it for directions in human language. Compared with the rare Slowking, what is more eye-catching is its Metagross. He actually also has Metagross. Zyallen said in surprise. Smart Pokémon such as Slowking and Hudi not only understand human nature, but can even be said to understand the ways of the world. However, Megrum is different from them in intelligence. All its intelligence is used to strengthen its own hunting itself. Intelligence is reflected in being able to think of countless possibilities in an instant during battle. It has its own nature, and even if it is intelligent, it cannot understand humans. Therefore, it is a Pokémon that is difficult to control and train. In addition, the cost of training is too high, and very few trainers have it. Yuanzi, who had read Oi's information in advance, was not surprised at this time, and said unconvinced, "Humph. Although it is a metrogress, it is definitely not as strong as my brother, Xiaolan." Smiled coquettishly upon hearing this. Isn't this nonsense? If his metrogress was as strong as brother Yuan's trump card, then there would be no need to compete. Eminem, Badger, and Xiaolang would fight together, and he could get through it all. Beside him was a passerby from the Battle Academy, Wei, who said unconvincedly, "Little girl, is your brother a professional trainer? What is his name? If he is so powerful, maybe we know each other." Originally, he wanted to mock her and stop talking nonsense, but before Yuanzi could say anything, the young man sitting next to passerby A, who had been silent all this time, reached out and pushed him back. "This must be Miss Sonoko, right? Mr. Dago, of course we know each other." Passerby, it sounded like he was saying hello to Sonoko, but actually he was reminding his companions not to be embarrassed. Liang, you said he is. Passerby A's expression changed. Liang continued to have a poker face. The battle has begun on this side of the field, and Eminem went all out as soon as he came up, activating Mega Evolution. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.